Sorry about the wait. Whoa, that was quiet. Now we're loud. Hey. Hello, everybody. How you doing? Sorry about the late. I had to get my fine threads on today. How's everybody doing, though? Good to see you all. Happy Friday. Gosh, it's just always a happy day, right? It's happy birthday, happy Friday, happy Monday, happy Wednesday. Love y'all and your happiness. A no-noke and an oak and an okay? 07s. Welcome. First in chat. Always an honor. Thank you for being here. Jacob, how you doing? Ken, Georgski, good to see you. One step closer to 318. Yes, something like that. I think that's about it. Good to see you. Good morning, Prime. Citizen Desmond, hello. 07s. Are you the same Desmond that I tank fought with just a couple days ago? Martige. Hello there. How you doing? Petrol Head Games with the arm out. Yo, how's it going? Marcus, good to see you. Punji, Toes Gang. Where are my toes at? You idiot, they're on your feet. Right? Like, who is this guy? Folks, 318 is still not here. We're still waiting. Oh man. This is You know, it's funny because it lines up with their expectations of how long 318 would take to test. We were all like, oh, look how late they are with the patch. You know, maybe it won't take as long as they said it would in the letter from the chairman. Lo and behold, that was the one thing that they were accurate on. I don't know. I don't see this patch going live this year anymore. I mean, maybe they do. Maybe they push it out and it's just very, very in a not great state. But man, they're just not in a good place with 318. But we're going to talk all about that today. I'm going to take your opinions. You're going to take mine and you're going to like them. And we're just going to be chatting a little bit about Star Citizen. Kick back, Star Citizen and chill. I've also got the game up here just in case we want to hop in game and, I don't know, get into some trouble. But today's a pretty kickback. You know, it's Friday. We're kicking back. We're relaxing. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter stream. So, you know, just thought I'd invite y'all in to spend a couple of hours together hanging out, talking. What's up, FTL Network? Prince Ice Wolf. Hello, Antoine, Bob, Marcus. Good to see you all. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Just say Martin, easier in English. Yeah, I don't know how to say it, so I was just butchering it every time. Thanks for the easy mode. It's almost time to collect tears as an offering to Chris Roberts. Enough tears have been spared this December. Open PTU for Christmas, it is then. I mean, that's the best I can hope for is Open PTU this year. And for the last, I think, month or so, I would say by the time we realized that it was not going to be in PTU in November, I was like, okay, let's just launch with the Open PTU and let that sit over the new year, right? So that the people who want to try the PTU, try the new cool stuff, get to do that, and the people who don't are still in the live build. Although I imagine of all of the patches to do that with, 318's got to be one of the most difficult because it is, dang, I don't have music controls. Because it's a patch progress wipe. It's you're not just it's not a simple changeover on the holy crap, I cannot multitask. It's not a simple changeover on the patch. Like there's a whole big process in the back end going on as they switch between these two systems. I bet they prefer not to have them both running at the same time for that long. Cineshad, how you doing? Clink, I saw you in here. Good to see you. Who won the 400i? Who won the 400i? I made the announcement on my YouTube channel and on Discord, but I can give you the little... Let's see. It was Dennis M, who will be receiving an email at their very kindly provided email address. If you are in here, Dennis, though, congratulations. You are the winner. And we'll be reaching out to you within the next 12 to 24 hours. You have 48 hours from that message to respond. But congratulations, buddy. Again, that announcement is up on YouTube, just in case you are, I don't know, hearing this but not actually hearing it and want to double check. That'll be up on there. Frenchie Cad. Sorry, how you doing? Shorter than the birthday stream, yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to be doing another one of those for a little while. Actually, I was considering doing a 318 subathon. And that was kind of the plan. If 318 was actually in our hands by then, I probably would have done a subathon and gone for longer than 8 hours, but it was not. I just reminded you, with the date being the 16th, they are going on holiday soon. No point in dropping a buggy beyond belief and then going on vacation. I mean, you say that, but from a marketing standpoint, they have all the points to do it. You'd rather it come to PTU in a playable state rather than a disastrous one. I almost read you backwards there. Somebody in chat being like, man, I hope PTU is just in a horrible state when we get it. Really want to suffer. Haven't had enough suffering already. This is not what we're starting with. I was going to start with a patch watch with you guys. Give you a little bit of an update. This came out before my birthday, but I didn't have time to go over it, so I figured we could look at it today. See what kind of stuff they're continuing to add to 318. Stop that. Stop it, YouTube. Stop telling me what to do. So, the 318 patch watch, we know that is Jumptown on here for 318? I'm surprised they didn't put Jumptown in as a location. I guess they were like, 318 is big enough. If this was a small patch, I bet you... Oh, excuse me. If this was a small patch, I bet you that the Jumptown update would be in here. But they don't even need it because this patch is packed. This isn't like the biggest patch ever, but this is what I expect patches to be like going forward. To an extent, maybe not with the back end stuff, but I expect almost every patch to have something major in terms of a game loop, something major in terms of missions, some kind of change to like law or reputation or something like that, and a couple of new locations, 1 or 2 new locations. That's what I'm hoping we get from 3 out of 4 patches in a year. You know, they've always got to be a little bit light on one of the patches, but 318 is kind of setting my standard for patches going forward, so I hope they can stick to it. Obviously not, like I said, as impressive as 318, but similar. You know, they hang out on the same playground. They go to school on the same bus. Like, these are friends, not the exact same kind of patch. But anyways, the patch watch. Jumptown is not on the release view, so this isn't actually an official feature that they are flaunting quite a bit. They've talked about it a little bit in ISC, but it's not on the actual, updates. So you can see the new and remade interiors of Jumptown. I can't tell if this is really that much different. It does look like they've made it a little more custom than the other outposts. Are the hallways wider? Or am I just tricking myself into believing that? Because I might just be getting ahead of myself. I feel like the hallway was a little wider there. But it does look like there's a lot more space. Like, this hallway was much smaller before. And I guess they've added new areas for the drugs to be picked up, and the building is obviously much bigger. Yeah, you could see they added like a whole back section here. And I think there's multiple entrances and exits, multiple drug dispensers, a much better area. And they're iterating on this PvP area, I guess, to continue to see what kind of data and analytics they can get to make other locations a little bit better. Why isn't 318 in the PTU? Tony, I wish I knew. If I could answer that, they probably would have hired me. I don't know. They're having some kind of a problem, and it's taken a while for them to get it figured out. They're abusing EVA T2 for our sake so that we can get a PTU at some point, but EVA T2 is they take a lot of abuse before they get things done. It's just how it works. It's how avocados are. All right. What started as emergent gameplay before being implemented as a dynamic event is now in its 3rd iteration. What do you guys think of Jumptown? I know a lot of people, when it first came out, didn't really enjoy how they remade it, like to be gamified kind of and just official and part of the game. But do you guys think that this new one is good? Does it have staying power? Is it gonna last? Do people actually like it? I don't know. We haven't talked about Jumptown in a long time. Hey, Hyperloop. If even CIG thinks a patch is this bad to hold it from the PTU, it must be really bad. Yeah, there's got to be some kind of blockers in there. You've ignored the event so far, so you're not really into PvP? Ah, okay. People seem to like it when it was organic or whatever. People really liked the original Jumptown. Maybe you should visit the new one? Try to be like a dropship pilot or something. Don't shoot anybody. Just be shot at. JT is okay, but you really missed Xenothreat. Yeah. Xenothreat was a good one, and we haven't seen it in a long time. I wonder if they changed up Xenothreat to take advantage of something that they wouldn't be able to do without persistent entity streaming, so they had to hold off on it until that was in the game. That'd be weird. It probably wouldn't be a great idea on their part, but it'd be, you know, interesting little head lore. You wish Jumptown wasn't so announced. Huh. Like, if you could just go there and get drugs dispensed? Kind of like, what's it called? That's kind of like what they're trying to do with Korea, right? You can just kind of go whenever you want and start something up. It won't ever be announced. Look at it that way. Acrona, hey, good to see you back. How was your birthday? It was good. Birthday was amazing. I had a great time yesterday. My wife got me a box of my favorite chocolates. It's something we found while we were traveling earlier this year, and I did not think I was going to be able to have that. I love chocolate, all right? Big chocolate dude. Was not thinking I'd be able to have those chocolates for like a long while. You just don't end up going to other countries to get their chocolate, but you managed to find some and get them delivered, and it was amazing. And we got to play Cyberpunk and Civilization, and yeah, just had a good time. Also, managed to finish a video. Like, I wasn't even supposed to be working yesterday, and I managed to get it like an hour of work in and finish a video that's coming out tomorrow. So, yeah, overall pretty cool. Also had fun in game with all of you who played with me. And I'm probably going to jump in game again today. Probably for that last half of the stream, I'll do some gameplay with some of you if you want to hop in. I'm going to limit this one to org people. So basically, if you are in the Discord and you can see my name, that means that you're part of the org and you'll be able to join in. But we'll do that a little bit later. You don't like Jumptown because of the amount of salt in the chat. Yeah, that is... There's so much... It's so focused on, you know? You run a dynamic event right now in Star Citizen and everyone knows. The game is so small. At some point, people won't be so... Like, the people who don't want to be involved in Jumptown will not have to hear about it. But until then... Salt in the chat, my friends. Salt in the chat. Drop a like, y'all. Thank you, Scott. Good to see you. You clicked on my live and it took you here, and you could see the chat, but the video was a Fallout video. Huh. I mean, I could do some Fallout if that's what YouTube wants. They were obviously using Jumptown just to force test the servers and certain game features. It was overdone because of that. Same with Siege of Orison. Huh. You don't think that they were building them just to be fun on their own? You love that they made Jumptown a dedicated PvP spot. Offers a lot of great opportunities for some chaotic fun. Also brings players together in one spot. Agreed. I think I'm in agreement kind of with... who was that? Milan. I agree with Milan in that... Or, sorry. No, Milan said the salt in the chat. There. Bob Roberts, yeah. I agree with Bob in that it being announced probably takes away from some of the fun of it. And so I look forward more to seeing what happens with Korea, since that's kind of not announced until somebody actually makes it announced. Korea is like the first actual dynamic event, right? You a fan of Milka? Yeah, Milka's not bad. Milka's not bad in a pinch. You have a D&D game today, so you can't join in later? Ah, that's all right. Enjoy your match. Your, what do you call a D&D game? Scrounge? I like Scrounge. You never run away from salt in online games. It's forever here to stay. You don't run away from the salt, but you can use it to season something else, you know? Get it away from you. Work on something else. It's gonna have constant revolving door of shenanigans. Yeah. Who plays SC with chat open? I like to. I like to try, because nobody uses VoIP. It's the first problem. That's true. Everything is a test, yeah. They actually mentioned somewhere that they are also interested in the data, hence the high frequency. Have unfortunately no source for it. Well, like Scott said, they are testing everything. All the changes that they make are changes to try and figure things out and push the game forward. Session? Okay, you call it a session. Fine, not a scrounge. You call it hell. Is there any chance 318 is live this year? Whew. Oh, I don't think so at this point. Man, it's not great, and maybe they'll go all out to try and get it out live because it's not great, but it no, I don't. I think there's a good chance that it won't be live this year and it'll be in PTU. No knowing though. Tony Fresh, honestly, I've been obsessed with DayZ content recently. There's more DayZ content than Star Citizen content on my YouTube front page. It is remarkable. It's very cool. It's a game that creates a lot of really cool stories, and the kind of gameplay that I see from that, not the kind of gameplay, rather, the storytelling style that I see from videos about that game is something I want to try and do in Star Citizen. It's so captivating. Salty Mike knows how to season content without making it inedible. Inedible. I'm going to have a Salty Tomato show next week for the podcast. We usually have some good talks. Recommend checking out Anarchy HD. Oh, I don't play DayZ. I just watch it, but I have watched Anarchy sometimes. I think I've watched Anarchy do a couple different games. Salty Mike banned you? Can I tell him to unban you? I don't have any control over who he bans. I'm not gonna step up to him and tell him what to do about his chat. I'm sorry to hear that though, but I have no authority there. All right, so after the Jumptown improvements, like we said, the size of the place has doubled. There's a second entrance, a second drug dispenser, multiple windows and skylights. We don't know if those, I'm guessing we can't go through those windows, probably glass, probably vacuum sealed. The labs were made circular, the doors have been removed. Cool. Does it look like outside we'll have more FPS firefights? I think that's the thing that I'm struggling with most in Star Citizen is like, how do we get more exterior FPS going on? You know, we got to be able to use snipers and stuff. Don't remember, it's been a while. Yeah, I mean, you should talk to him. Tweet at him or something. Or go on Discord. Or can't you put in a unban request on there? Be like, yo, I get you. We're cool. He's a cool guy. I'm sure he'll be all right with it. Oh, that's right. Yes. Yes, Anarchy, that's where I've watched him. He caught some people in a DayZ server cheating. That must be where I recognize the name from. Rogue Duck, how you doing? I'm good. I am good, my friend. I'm tomatified for today. Having a good old stream. Ow! My poor elbow. Having a good Friday stream. How are you? Your unban request got denied? Oh. Oh, geez. You think the doors being removed will really help with outside FPS? You really need someone to pull security out there. Well, they probably didn't remove the front door, since you gotta have an airlock on that one. But the other ones, yeah. This isn't a great angle, but it looks like there's almost exterior space inside of the building here. Like, the building wraps around it, but I think I'm just seeing that wrong. But anyways, those are the Jumptown improvements. Now, we keep going. We got some new fashion. Actually, we knew this was coming. Oh yes, that's right, my friends. Fashion was one of the more important focuses of 2022. No, I'm kidding. Please don't take me seriously. But they did have a task going on. The character art team was working with... is that the Systemic Services? Oh, SC character art team, right? And for a few months, they worked on some clothes. So, I guess we are now seeing the first of those clothes put into the game. Not a huge addition by any means. Could you imagine if this was on the release view? I actually think they have put clothes on the release view. And that's why like the scale of how the game is being built is kind of different. Come on, I know they're back here. Yeah, here we go. Prison uniforms. Come on, where is it? I could have sworn in the character section they've put clothes in there before. They put the flight suit rework. See, like this, it's just a difference in scale in terms of the features being added. I mean, some of them, sometimes they add a feature and you're like, okay, that probably didn't need to go on there. Like, I mean, I don't know, the DNA head textures thing. Yeah, sure. But like a flight suit, I don't know. Maybe that's something they would still put on there. But I think the features that we get now in the game are way better than the ones we used to get. Those were like minimal advancements. Now we're getting new locations and stuff. Regardless, I'm ranting, I'm tangenting. This is the new piece though. Honestly, it looks better when you make it bigger. The texture doesn't look bad. I like the colors. The design's a little weird. Makes it look like you got elephant ears on your thighs. But you know what? Some of us like elephants. And some of us even like ears. But this does look very Orison themed. This is some fancy stuff. This is like, I'm going to go to a party on Orison. You got Andor vibes? Any news on 318 to PTU week 1 yet? Or still in EVA T2? Still in EVA T2. Honestly, I was actually going to put up like a text here. Just to make it super easy for everybody. Coming. Just put this in the top of the right up here. There we go. Because I honestly do not know when 318 is coming. And that's not because of you. That's literally because we answered it so much last stream. What's up, Tyler? How you doing? Welcome. If distortion gun disabled power plants and shields for 5 minutes, does that mean we can salvage that ship while it's still being alive with people inside? Yeah, sounds like it. If it disables the shield, because the shield's all you need to block the salvaging tool. Has a bit of a 70s vibe. Well, you know, you throw purple on anything, it's 70s. Would you rather a janky 318 by the 23rd or a polished 318 in January after the break? Janky 318. Janky 318. Honestly, if 318 doesn't at least reach the open PTU this year, then I'm going to be down a video because I scheduled out my December expecting a 318 kind of like a preview or review by the end of the month. And, well, It's looking less and less likely, so I might just finish up the year with one less video. You'd wait until February for a bug-free 318, then they just break it the next month with 319. The pain. Do you think CIG will give us a new star system that is relatively empty, and it allows players to put up their own space stations and moon bases similar to EVE's nullsec zones? There are a lot of star systems that have basically nothing in them. So there will be places for you to set up space stations or bases. Maybe not space stations, but definitely bases. But it won't be player driven because there will always be AI present. Even if there are no AI in a system and players go into that system and start making bases in an economy, AI will show up. But it's all very much still a controlled environment from what I'm seeing. You're a bit over features this year? A bit over features? Never. I'd never be over features. Give me all the features. More features. Feature me up. Come on. Oh, feature me. I said that wrong. I censored that wrong. But you guys get the idea. Freaking feature me. Keep doing it, CIG. Seriously, I love features more than ships, more than the game itself. Not every update is a wipe in this game, no. Every once in a while. Based on the ISC this week, I think we're definitely getting 318 before the end of the year. It's what it sounded like they wanted to push, yeah. Do you want to create your own Space Tomato base like a Death Tomato? I want to create a GII base. Me, myself, Space Tomato, I will definitely be doing my own solo stuff every once in a while and have like maybe a little base somewhere. But I want to have a pretty large compound for GII where we can have enough space for everybody to come there, have a safe space, have a place to store stuff, repair stuff, refuel stuff whenever they need, all that jazz. Pretty new player. The other bacon, welcome. We love bacon in the verse. Looking to upgrade the cutter you bought. Ooh, that's a quick upgrade. Cutlass Black or Avenger Titan, which is the better overall ship for a new player? I don't think the cutter to an Avenger Titan upgrade is worth it. So I would say do the Cutlass, but the Cutlass is kind of expensive. So like only do it if you're really ready to spend that money. But the cutter is a good ship. Like that's a good starting ship. Just doing some paperwork, Tyler? Nice. Space Tomato base sounds like the foundation of a great soup. Ooh. Ooh. The best stew. The best stews include tomat. Do I think they'll eventually add ice cream melting mechanics to the game? Being able to permanently store a cone in your armor pockets for hours on end without consequences ruining the game and its immersion for you. Well, so here's the thing. And there's a huge document on this, in fact. If you go and you look up Star Citizen armor system, and I actually did a video on this. This is a very important topic. I'm glad you brought this up, Punchy. So I have this video, how will armor work? And the inspiration for this video is actually very similar to this question. See, ice cream in Star Citizen is kind of like one of those stealthy features that they don't really talk about. So they have resource management, you know, you've got your control surfaces, aerodynamics, AI systems, all of these things that are very important, Gen 12 even being one of them. And they all have these teams, these developers working on them, and you can see the numbers of people who are working on these features. But the one they never put on the progress tracker is the fucking ice cream. Yeah? So they never talk about this, and they'll occasionally drop some hints. But the word on the street is, Punji, they're working on building power systems into the armor so that armor acts like a ship. You know how we have power management in our ships, and we'll have to figure out, you know, hey, I'm going to have enough power for this amount of time out in the verse, and then I need to go back and refuel. Same thing with our armor. We'll have to have armor power supplies, and that will power the suits, and eventually be able to refrigerate your pocket so that you can carry around ice cream in the verse for as long as you want. So yeah, I do think they'll eventually be adding ice cream melting mechanics, but not before the armor is ready to handle them. You know, it's all about priorities, right? What is CIG focusing on? What's important? And as much as I like to think it's ice cream because of how much they're working on it behind the scenes, I don't think we're ready for it. I don't think they're ready to show it to us. So, we'll see. There's there's a kernel of truth in there, okay? Screw the ice cream, but the idea of our armor being powered is actually a thing, and that's what a lot of this video is about. If you want to learn more about that, I actually do suggest you go back and watch this video. It's not just a joke. Our armor in the game, there will be a difference between powered and unpowered armor. And that's going to make a difference when it comes to what kind of environments you can go into, how much EVA fuel you have, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, CIG's thinking of it all. 317.5 just dropped. Nice. Rabaid, how you doing? Good to see you. Welcome in, buddy. That would be a reason to stow the armor when not in a combat or harsh environment. I mean, what are you going to do without ice cream in a combat environment? How are you going to diffuse the situation? What about waffles? My friend, waffles are practically storage material on their own. CIG would be smart to give waffles their own internal inventory. Just shove a couple of ammo cartridges in there. Eye candy and making money is what CIG wants, right? Eye candy, mouth ice cream, and making money. It does take a long time to remove armor. That's actually another thing that they are working on with armor, is this feature. I wish I could record these things and put them on YouTube, but my OBS won't record. This feature here is called lockers. Check this out. Lockers in inventory introduces a consistent way to store clothes, armor, and items in a physicalized state. Also includes a more robust and tactile method of storing items on shelves and attachment surfaces. This builds on the personal inventory, expanding the inventory UI to include lockers. This was finished in November. Well, okay. The reported work was finished in November. It's probably being like tested for Squadron. Is this the active feature team? Yeah, so this is probably like, okay, now we can run it in Squadron time. So I'd expect another 6 to 9 months. But we might start seeing lockers in the game. And there is a specific, gosh, I don't know if it's on here. Loadouts. No, it doesn't look like they're on here, but the locker system is tied to loadouts. And the idea with loadouts is kind of like you would expect with other games. You will be able to, gosh, dude, could I find that on here? Let's see. The loadout system is connected to lockers, and that you'll be able to just store your stuff in the locker, press a button, and it equips that whole loadout for you. I think this might be the active feature team that talked about it. I'm good, Rebaid. Thank you for the kind greeting. Do I agree with the ballistic changes by itself, or should it have been combined with other changes to laser variants? I haven't really put too much thought into it, because combat's not something that I dwell on too much, but I do think that it makes sense why they're doing it. Maybe not in a vacuum, like maybe with other changes in mind, and also the physical damage system, but I understand why ballistics need to be made strong. Maybe not so strong, but I'm sure they'll dial it back again a little bit later. Since the theory is that someone has to be online for a base to stay persistent, will we have to hire NPC janitors? Was that the idea that somebody has to be online? Let's see. It wouldn't be any of these. This is EUPU though. We want active feature. Here we go. All right, let's see if they say anything about it. Backpack. Fireman carry restraints, weapon attachments, standard. Here we go. So check this out.
Will we be able to select standard loadouts? It is very annoying to decorate your character, die, and then have to spend another 10 minutes hanging guns on them.
So we're not planning any sort of loadout editor?
Nope.
Or,
bye, Chris. Nope, bye.
Oh, okay. I'll see you next week. However, lockers. Lockers are the thing we want to deliver to you and hopefully provide you what you're after. The idea is, especially for like armor lockers, you would go up to a locker fully attired and just be able to dump what you're wearing into it, and that would retain, you know, your sidearm, all your sort of equipment, grenades, ammo, etc. So all the time you've put into just equipping yourself up, you'll be able to save that and store it in a locker. And obviously, if you've got multiple lockers, then you can have multiple loadouts that you can return to every time. That gives you a great bonus if you've got a bigger ship or you know, eventually larger habs. We also do want to support the notion of outfits, but they're going to be more sort of geared towards clothing, primarily because with armor lockers, the idea is sort of one suit per locker. So you just, you know, what's in that locker is your loadout, so to speak.
Gotcha.
But with outfits for clothing, you know, you could buy an outfit from a shop, coming back, go up to your wardrobe or locker, just dump that into your locker, and then when you return to it, you might say, "Oh, I want to equip that outfit again." And again, you know, you might want to customize it. So maybe you bought 2 outfits, but you like half and one more or whatever. So the idea there is that you'll be able to customize clothing outfits, and that should be within an interface that's like tied into your locker. And yeah, just so you're aware, so lockers, it's meant to be very tactile, you know, the player interaction system, we want to use that throughout the entire game, but we also want to bring in elements of the inventory system, so that you're able to, through that, customize outfits and whatnot. Again, it's very early days. This is on the horizon. Not sure when it's...
There's all these little things like this, because there are so many of these teams doing interesting stuff. There are all these little things like this that they were talking about 6 months ago, 12 months ago, maybe like 18 months ago, right? And people will be like, oh, they talked about that and then they forgot it. They put it away. It's not happening. But in reality, they're kind of working on it in the background. There are other people still working on it. They're just not talking about it. So this is one of those things that I'd love to hear about in the new year. Get the active feature team on, have them talk a little bit more about what they've been working on. The EVA T2 stuff, the FPS radar and scanning. They've got a lot of really interesting stuff. EVA T2, FPS radar and scanning, ladders, mantling stuff, mop and bucket. Get the out of here, mop and bucket work. Like, we need to know about this. Inventories, visor, HUD and helmet, physical interactions, salvage T0. This is a really interesting team. So this is one of the features that I hope we can see next year. But I keep saying that about so many features. Like, there's so many things that they've been working on that kind of have been getting into the later stages of development. And I'm like, when did they get... We can't get all this next year. There's no way that happens. So when is all this stuff coming to the game? They got to balance it out. What, are you just going to start delaying stuff that's done? Yeah, I think Salvage 42. I think Squadron 42 is still a ways away. We can do our own loadout drops now. Fly by with the C2 and drop it out the ramp to whoever's on the ground. Well, there you go. That's one way to do it. They also pause things based on waiting for other tech to be worked out. That's true. That's a good point, Vlas. I completely omitted that point. Some of this stuff might have actually just been put on pause. Good afternoon, Ronnie. Good to see you. Me and Mrs. Tomato are doing well. Glad to have you back in here. Maybe small bits of other systems. I talk about Squadron. Reese with the toes. What's up, dude? Happy week. Happy Friday, man. How are you doing? Is anyone in here actually even interested in Squadron 42? Absolutely. We've ran a couple of polls asking people what they think of Squadron 42 in our chat here, and usually there's more people interested than not. Can't wait for the base and land ownership systems to be implemented. Having to protect your land and bases from people trying to mine your resources would be awesome. Get out of here, you swamp rats. Trying to swamp my rats. Somebody just subbed? Why is it telling me that somebody just subbed, but it's not telling me somebody subbed? That's rude, Twitch. You're worried about ships, Xenon? If you remember correctly, the Idris or another ship is supposed to feature heavily as a location in this story, and they haven't finished building those ships yet. They have. The Idris, from what they've told us, is built for Squadron 42. It's a different ship than what's in Star Citizen. The one that's going into Star Citizen isn't ready yet. The one that's for Squadron 42, which is like the main part, that's like your home base in the game, that's the one that they have built out. I actually have a video from, I think 2 years at this point. Star Citizen Idris tour. Yeah, check this out. This is the one from let's see, where were you? You on YouTube? Yeah, on YouTube. That is the Idris from Squadron 42. And that was 2 years ago. So they've gotten a pretty decent amount of work on it done, and it's going to be a little bit different than it would be for Star Citizen itself. It's frustrating because so much seems to be waiting on PES and Gen 12. Even with 318, it's going to take time to tune. Why it's taking so long? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's being held up by prerequisites. Oh, Mace, there we go. Now I can see it. 07. Thanks for the sub, buddy. 9 months, a little Twitch baby. Appreciate you. You guys are into Squadron? I'm into Squadron. I came to Star Citizen looking for a single player game. So the fact that Star Citizen's also making a single player game makes me very happy. Like, I love single player games. I know I don't play them really on stream, but they're my favorites. You got a question? What do I think the whole industry side will become? It'll be like EVA Online, where you can build whole ships and stations and create player-driven economies? No, I think it's going to be a step down from EVA Online in terms of player-driven economies. I've got another video on this, actually. Just keep on plugging my own stuff, huh? I made a video over the summer that you can see here. It's basically a look at how Star Citizen's economy is going to work. But, long story short, I think industry is going to be a pretty big arm. A pretty big arm of the game. And I do think that players will affect the game and move the economy around in terms of focus. I don't think they'll be able to like make or break the economy. But I think they're definitely going to have an impact on things like which factories are making a good profit, which planets are shipping out a lot of goods, things like that. And over time, I think those focuses will shift between different systems and different planets based on what Star Citizen or what CIG wants to do. And we'll be able to make, micro adjustments here and there. But for the most part, it's going to be AI driven. Let me make sure I post this to the right place. Is that on YouTube? Yeah, that was on YouTube. There you go. That's the link to the video. Do I think the Reclaimer will be back in the pledge store for 318? Good question. I don't know. That is a very good question, though. Your second week in Star Citizen and you've uninstalled all other games. That's awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I like to keep a couple of games there, a couple of games handy for the, take a break every once in a while. Think Squadron 42 is what will drive a lot of players into the PU project if they succeed. Yeah, it's going to be a good barometer for how much people are interested in the game overall, and probably get people interested. You were sold after watching the vertical slice. For how little actual gameplay was in the vertical slice, it did look pretty cool. It's the economy will be driven by quanta. EVE is driven by players. Indeed. I think you've asked this before, but if you could snap your fingers and add any feature to the game, what would you pick? Mine would be base building. Mine would probably be a fully functional economy. Whoops. All right, let me finish up this patch watch real quick. Let's listen to what else there was here. So they made a bunch of bug fixes. Honestly, if you ever run into people who are like, hey, they don't fix bugs, just point them towards the patch notes or any update at all. they list so many bug fixes. They're not the most important, but they are bugs, and there's usually a lot of them. I'm looking to see if there are any good ones here, especially the MSR bug. That one's really annoying. But since I played on the 15th, which was after this, that wouldn't make sense. You can also see some of the speed changes for ground vehicles they've done here. So it looks like they lowered most, if not all speeds. It looks like most speeds, the Nova still got the speed here. Looks like the Rock DS went up, the Rock went up, PTV went up. But for most of these speeds got lowered in 3.17.3 and are being, some of them are being raised and some are being lowered for 3.18. This is going to affect the Daymar Rally. So the Daymar Rally, when you're going in the Ursa, was like 5 hours, 6 hours last year at 45 meters per second. They've lowered it all the way to 29. So that's going to be a significant increase in time for the Daymar Rally and for races in general across all of the vehicles. The Cyclone, it will also be an increase. Honestly, it looks like it's going to be an increase just as much. Holy crap. Look at the time, the amount that they've dropped the speeds. Like, this is definitely going to change the length of these races. Hey, Iron Wolf. STV is faster than the RC. Oh yeah, that is weird. The RC's got like jet. Oh, this must be standard speeds because the RC can still boost and go faster. The only problem with SC is how slow the development is. It's very frustrating, but if you look back, there's undeniable progress being made slowly but surely. I'd even go a step further and say that the slowness of the development isn't so much the problem as is how they set our expectations for the development. And, you know, setting the expectations is part of the marketing. If they had come out in 2012 and been like, yo, we're going to make this cool space game and you guys, it'll be barely playable, or like we'll meet minimal viable product in 11 years, they would not have made as much money. But at the same time, like, I really wouldn't mind all that much knowing when things are happening, or rather how much things are slow if we know exactly what's happening and why. I wouldn't necessarily say that they need to be telling us exactly what's happening and why, because that's kind of crazy and there's far too much info. But man, it makes it a lot easier. Just makes it so much easier to I might be viewing this as a more of a news aggregation point of view than a backer point of view. I agree that it is very slow and that's frustrating, but man, their communication problems get me so much more. With Pyro, flight model, heat system, master modes, etc. all coming, there has to be a total rebalance across all ships. Oh yeah, there's a lot of rebalancing happening across ships. Because you're also the combat stuff too. Weapons, physical damage. And that's why when people are looking at the ships that they want to get right now, it's like, don't buy it for what it is right now. Buy it for at the very least what you hope it will be. The expectations you want to set. But like buying ships very specifically for their hard points, for their bullet counts, for their shield sizes, there are so many of these things will change in importance and value over time. SC would grow its player base drastically over time if they offered co-op only servers in addition to PvP servers. Currently, they ejecting many PvEers. Yeah, that's probably true, but that's just not who Star Citizen was made for. I don't think Star Citizen's ever going to be a truly mainstream incredibly popular game. Maybe it will be. But my understanding of it is it's always been kind of a niche sim-like game that's fairly hardcore. You know, you go out and you die. You lose one of limited lives. You drop your materials. Somebody could take those and never give them back. You go out into a star system that doesn't have a good law system. You might get attacked by other players. Like, I think there's a certain amount that they should shift the game to try and bring in as many players as they can, but they also should try and stick to that original goal that they were trying to make. And there's plenty that they can do to make the PvP better in this game with the reputation system, the law system and stuff, but taking it out, making separate servers, oh boy. The issue with the speed of development is that with the PU, they're more clear and show us what they're doing compared to Squadron, where they don't tell us anything. Yeah. When AI is functional, just stay in high security systems if you don't want PvP. Or at least high security planets. Like, I'm sure in Terra there's going to be PvP on the outskirts just because it's such a populated system, but, you know, stay in a place where security can come help you pretty quickly. Do I think 3.18 will come out tonight? Certainly not live. Maybe the PTU. But I have no way of knowing. With how much it's grown, if they were gonna compromise and make it more accessible, it would have happened by now. Never gonna be a normal MMO. At the same time though, Scott, they are doing some things that kind of are surprising. Like the in-game skill system, which we never really had a long conversation on this channel about. But that is definitely a drastic gamifying of the game that I didn't really expect. That one caught me off guard. There are a few things that I'm like, okay, I didn't think that was going to be a thing, but sure. Like boat parameters, I'm like, all right. Atmospheric damage, pressure damage, yeah, okay, that's fun, but how often do we need that in a sim, you know, for every gas giant? But then they were like skill systems, and I'm like, huh? That's out of left field. So I don't know. Maybe they are willing to do some pretty drastic changes to keep people's attention and improve the sense of progression. You know, I see why they're doing that. But it goes to show that they are kind of willing to change the game even at this stage for a more casual audience. I don't know how far they're willing to go, though. It's hard to be excited for Squadron if no info gets out. That's fair, Captain. I mean, that's how most games work. You don't really get that hyped for a game until it's been announced and they're doing the marketing and all that stuff. They already have separate servers. They would get nothing but gains, but those servers aren't based on players. Those servers are based on CIG. They can do whatever they want with the servers. They're not limiting them. If they were to allow people to split servers up, I don't think all they would get would be gains. I think there would be some pretty crazy fragmentation in the player base. Part of what makes Star Citizen so good is that the whole community, while they might not agree on everything, is one force that pushes the game in certain directions. And I think if we have people who are going on different servers, it's just gonna get really crazy. Hope they make it balanced enough to keep it fun for everyone. That balance will never end. It's gonna be challenging. They're trying to keep it fun for everyone. It's gonna be rough. You hope they'll expand the fitting system, because for the state of the game right now, you just slap the best equipment and you're good. You want more variety, not just on ship types, also on equipment. Yeah, you can expect that for sure. What happens after final death? You have to start a new character. That character will be considered kin to your previous character, so you'll get some of their reputation, you'll get some of their belongings, you'll have to pay for their funeral costs or whatever, but overall, you will be reset. just, you know, inherit stuff that you had before. Yeah, having highly effective law system also makes areas PvE by game design rather than by artificial force, which I think is a much better way to go about it, and I think is possible. You just see the skills as more of a way to tune people into specialization. At least what they've said, it won't take away from the importance of player skill. I don't know. I think that it definitely does take from player skill. I don't think it ruins player skill or takes it out of the game, but I think any additional boost or bump you can get in a skill level that's not directly attached to player skill does take away from player skill. Not to the point where I think it ruins the game, but it's a chip, and it depends on how much they want to expand this skill system. You know, they could keep expanding it, and every time they do, I think it will be another chip at that idea of the player skill. Might not be a bad thing, but it is something that they're changing. What happens to pledges? Oh, the pledges will stay. Anything that you've bought with real money will stay with that account. It's less of an account switch over and more of just a character switch over. You'll still have your same account. Things like physical G-force conditioning just can't be left up to players in real life. Yeah, but like reload speeds, assassination animations, sprint speeds, the amount you can carry, that kind of stuff is a little different. For instance, instead of having a skill to be able to carry more boxes or carry boxes longer or hold my breath longer, why not have cybernetics that can be bought like they've already had planned? That's where it starts to get a little bit confusing for me, because that makes sense. It's still based on player skill, and it's based on your ability to foresee your problems and purchase or equip the right things, as opposed to, you know, getting lucky in a situation because you sprint and jump anywhere. Because you know I'm going to have the highest sprinting and jumping skill possible because I never stop. That's not necessarily something I did in prep. It's just something I do. 3 lives and you're done? I think it'll be closer to like 7 or 8 lives. There is no evidence they would quit instead of adapting if they like the game enough. Who would quit instead of adapting? Oh, you're talking about people on different servers? The people who would go on to different servers are people who would otherwise quit the game, so there is no actual split. It's just expanding the player base. That's a huge statement to make about potentially millions of players, though. I mean, you can't, that's not black and white. The number of people who might quit might not be enough to change the core idea of what Star Citizen is. You gotta consider going to other games and saying the same thing. You know, people who might like Forza Horizon be able to race on their own might quit if they can't because they're getting harassed by other drivers, but they also might stay. And you have to tell Forza or Playground Games, hey, you got to make this huge change to your game. Is it worth it to keep this 30% of people who would quit versus the 70% who wouldn't? Like, what's the percentage of people that would quit that would make you want to change that feature? Because having separate servers, having the ability of having private servers, I guess we should say, is a pretty huge change to the game. And I think if they did do that, they would also have a certain amount of people who would quit. And those people might be more driven, more dedicated to what Star Citizen is. Might be more willing to be whales and give money, in which case CIG would have to weigh, is it worth it to alienate that group because we have people who want to have separate servers? I think it's a lot more than just a simple who would like it and who wouldn't kind of scenario. They could do best of both worlds, though. They could say, hey, we'll have everybody on the same servers, And we'll make some areas in these servers too difficult for any PvP, protecting the people who don't want PvP. You're an hour late, Cotton? Dude, what happened? Where you been? Big breakfast? People asking for PvE don't know what SC is for or how it's supposed to work. As a lot of people have come into the game recently. What's up, Shadow Spectre? How you doing? If people look at PvP like it's griefing, then they are telling you they don't like it. That's fair. And, like, I think if they don't like it, they shouldn't, you know, they should stop until the game is in a better place where that doesn't happen. So as of right now, I mean, PvP is not anywhere near what it will be in the actual game. The game can't handle PvP right now. You definitely lose interest in an MMO that doesn't put everyone together. Hello. In every MMO that offers both PvP and PvE servers, the PvE side is at least off of the base. What does that mean? You would pay a sub to get different servers. Oh boy. Guess you got caught up at work. Oh, no problem, dude. How was work today? Having the verse to yourself sounds awesome until you realize how dead it is without other players. It also, like, would just be cool to... I definitely see the appeal of just exploring and going and doing your own thing in the verse without anybody else there, ever. That's awesome. But I don't think I would play that long term, to be honest. And that's just me. Everybody's got their own reason for playing. Java update, thank you for the sub. What are my thoughts on Squadron 42, dead weight or necessary? I think it's necessary. Yeah, I think Squadron 42 is going to be pretty big. This was the biggest teller for me. Also, Chris, how you doing? Good to see you. 07th, buddy. This is the biggest teller for me that they were... Oh no, sorry, it wasn't this. Cloud Imperium, new studios, new employees. Once they were reporting on this whole thing, that they are like, they're opening new studios in 2 different cities. In Manchester, they're trying to add 7 freaking hundred new jobs by 2023. Like next year, folks. I don't know how far through this they are, but if they're trying to add 700 new jobs, and I'm guessing that also includes their old studio. But just remember, they have like 4 or 5 studios now. And overall, they still are less than 1,000 people. So if they want 700 at just one studio, they're adding a lot of new jobs. They got 2 new studios. They're making some big increases in employee count, in rent costs, in overhead, all that stuff over the next few years. So I think Squadron is pretty key for them to be able to meet the funding for that. 2 hours of work left? Ugh. You remember when mod support and private servers were a stretch goal? Yeah, I don't think that they're gonna do... I don't think they're gonna do it. Maybe they'll find some way to do it. I don't think, though, if they do private servers, they're going to allow for a replication of the game on a private server. That would be kind of crazy. I think the game would fall apart. Unless they could... Well, no, they'd have to have private shards, not even just private servers. And they would have to allow for all of the data in each of those shards to affect the other shards. So it would be just like it is right now. where if something is happening in the other shards, although I guess that's how it's going to be anyways, geographically linked shards that will rely on the same data in the entity graph. Imagine if we had like 80 different shards all giving data to the entity graph. But again, that wouldn't work because all the shards would have to live off the same rules. You can't have a PvE shard and a PvP shard that are both giving data to the same database. It would be so wildly inconsistent. Maybe you could have you could set up 2 entity graphs, one for PvE shards and one for PvP shards, but that whole conversation that's just so much, like, compared to what they're trying to do. Maybe they'll do that someday, but I just can't see it. You're a new player and you love the game. It does need fixes, but what game doesn't need them? Moist Space, welcome. Welcome, Citizen 07. Welcome to the verse. Happy to have you with us. Yeah, this game needs work, but it's still in development. And, you know, that brings up the other complaint. Well, it's been in development too long, but it is in development, so it's gonna need work until that is no longer true. And I'm sure well after that. Never gonna complain about new jobs in the industry. New jobs are good. It's good as long as they're sustainable jobs, yeah. That's kind of opposite of the grand vision of a single shard. Right. Yeah. Hey, Jen, how are you doing? It's definitely, and that's the whole thing, is it really goes against kind of the idea of what Star Citizen's been trying to be. CIG just needs to provide good law and order in Stanton, gangs and Pyro, everyone happy. Yeah, take the system that you're interested in. Exactly. Will private servers even be needed by your question is, could a big org fill an instance as many... Wait. An instance as how many per instances will we get? The server meshing is going to make it so that each instance is made of a bunch of servers that are linked, so you can't really tell that you're going in between servers. So it'll feel like one big instance, or however many big instances. We don't know anything about how many players per area there will be at this point. I didn't notice any changes in the loner matrix now. What did I even pull this up for? Oh, because we were talking about the studios and the employees and all that stuff. So yeah, you can see their expansions are huge. They're getting a couple of floors on this new, on this new building in Frankfurt with a really nice looking studio. Plenty of people will be working there. Same goes for Manchester, the very nice studio that we've already been seeing on some of these Inside Star Citizens. So like there's just a lot going on, and I think Squadron is very key to keeping that stuff going on. I don't think it's the PU that's going to be funding that. It's not on its own. Where's that picture from? What picture was it? Sorry? I didn't know what picture I was showing when you said that. This is from the 2016 CitizenCon. Yeah, this is from the 2016 CitizenCon presentation. The demo at the end. This would be Lear 3, I believe. You don't like the term griefing. These days, people use it too much. Anytime something happens that they just don't like, they call it griefing. It's dumb. I agree. I don't like griefing, but I also don't like how much griefing is just used to slap on anything that's combat related, basically. Letters from the chairman got to stop. Did anything Chris Roberts say in that end up coming up true? Well, yeah. I would say none of the times did. But as an update, as a way for us to know what's going on, this was incredible. If they didn't say this year, I would have been... Man, I'd have been pissed. Like, we did... Maybe they don't have to be letters for the chairman, but we do definitely need these kinds of updates. Especially it helps when it's in writing, but it gives us a good perspective of like medium term what the heck's going on. Think about if we didn't have this. If we didn't have this letter, we wouldn't know what the plans are to get from PES to server meshing. We wouldn't know why PES has taken so long, or what happened to iCache. We wouldn't know about the work that goes into PES or what it means. We wouldn't have this timeline. We wouldn't know the technologies that they switched to. Where was it? Something about this Google language they switched to. I think there's some really good info in here. Timelines, not so much. Never great. Here we're aiming for the end of Q1 2023 for 4.0. So yeah, timeline-wise, it's not great. But at the same time, this still gives us a decent expectation as to what's going to happen between 3.18 and 4.0. Chris told us we would have to wait and do a lot of testing of PES. We were waiting and doing a lot of testing. Yeah, PES came later than we thought. And I think it's going to take probably more time than people are thinking to get to server meshing. Because this, in the letter here, it does say that server meshing took 4 new services on top of the 12 needed for PES, making it seem like server meshing is going to be a lot easier to do. I don't think that's the case. I think server meshing is well on its way to being done, but I wouldn't expect us getting done with PES to mean that server meshing is suddenly going to be achievable. Yo, Couch Ninja, how you doing? You don't want somebody who has that much of your money to ghost you. That's what it felt like before this letter. The new studio in Manchester is coming along nicely, I can tell you that. Yeah, from like the pictures and videos that I've seen of it, it looks like it's going well. Did somebody say what is iCache? Couch Ninja? Don't worry about it. iCache is what the entity graph was originally supposed to be. But the iCache did not scale well for what they wanted to do and how much they wanted to do with it. So they moved on to what they call the entity graph. Actually, they mentioned this here. The development of persistent entity streaming was not without road bumps. We had to change our plans for how we would persist the state of the universe when we realized that the back-end relational database we were planning on using with a host of services, which we had collectively dubbed iCache, would likely not be able to have low latency at the scale we needed for the number of concurrent players we will need to support in the future. We pivoted to use a graph database at the start of 2021, taking a different approach at the services and cache, which we outlined in the virtual presentation. That's where they started the entity graph, which then, requires the replication layer and persistent entity streaming. It's good that they told us this. The problem with this, and again, I have more problems with this kind of stuff than I do with the amount of time this game is taking. This was a decision that was made in the beginning of 2021. Now, I'm sure they wanted to make sure that the replacement for iCache, which isn't working, was good to go, and they knew it would be a thing. From their perspective, I get it. You don't want to have this big piece of technology that you've been saying is going to help the game a lot and then find out it doesn't work and tell people it doesn't work with nothing to replace it. But unfortunately, they decided not to do that and make us wait a year. A whole year after they figured out it wouldn't work to tell us they had a replacement. Now, that's okay because they're doing R&D. They're figuring this out. This is like a very do the stuff, see if it works, and then move forward with it if it does kind of thing. But man, at the same time, it does not build confidence to know that something might be broken for a year and they're spending all that time trying to figure it out, because the same thing could happen with server meshing. Not to say it will. You know, for all we know, they're actually pretty well along with server meshing and they know it will scale up, but like the same thing could happen, which sucks. That's part of Star Citizen. That's part of following this game that's in still such an experimental phase of development. Is like things just don't work sometimes. And I think that's where a lot of people get the idea that it's a scam. Like, you do something, you say it'll work, you try to figure out how to make it work. That first version of how it will work doesn't work. People see that, they think you've given up, they call it a scam. They don't realize you're still working on an alternative to trying to make that work. And they've done that a couple of times with this game. Hover mode comes to mind. Why enter into an MMO expecting a single player experience, then expect the whole game to be changed just because you want PvE? A lot of MMOs kind of do that now. So I think that they've started to set an expectation. You're about to apply for a job at CIG? Don't worry, we already do it. We're all Q&A, right? We're all QA. I'm so glad to not be QA. I say that lightly. I know you guys, QA works their freaking butts off. Who won the 400i? Denny M. We'll be sending out an email today to them. Why do you think other game players should conform to your playstyle? I mean, I get where you're coming from, but it's not really the playstyle. That's just the mission of the game itself. You suspect server meshing will be EVA T2 maybe this time next year? Oh, that'd be late. The scam part is them using SC money to pay for Squadron. I do understand people also, they came in here for Star Citizen, didn't even know Squadron was a thing. And yeah, a lot of the development money goes towards Squadron. So I get that too, that complaint. You think server meshing is still just a design document? I can tell you with 100% certainty it's not just a design document. I don't know where it is, but we literally had somebody in the chat today who is working on server meshing. And they've been working hard for a while. CIG Point Blank said, it's not an MMO, it's a combat and trading sim with multiplayer elements. Yeah, that's getting into semantics, I think. Playing SC while listening to Tomato. Oh, Maverick. That's confusing. Getting Star Citizen while you're playing Star Citizen, huh? Yo, dog. You swear Star Citizen is an MMO? I mean, most people see it as an MMO. I don't know, maybe CIG has never said it is. Honestly, I've never paid that much attention to the official messaging. But most people, yeah, consider it to be at least striving to be an MMO. The reason you probably never got any good at Elite Dangerous is because you were able to play in solo lobbies, never forced to really learn. I played the multiplayer version of it and I never got attacked. I only played like 60 hours though. I don't even think that, oh, Milan, thank you for becoming a member on YouTube. Appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for hanging out in chat today too. Make sure to check out those exclusive videos on the main YouTube channel page under the titles, members only videos. You get access to those now. I don't even think PvP needs to be the danger that lurks around every corner. Like, we could easily handle that with PvE, but people are kind of forgetting all of the different scenarios that can come up when PvP is a thing, and the game understands it's a thing. It's a lot of features that will just end up not really working out as sandbox features if PvP is cut off. And what I mean by that is, if you cannot affect another player's health, that gets rid of a lot of things. Like, You can't have a situation where you crash your ship and the people on board die, right? Because the game is going to say, oh, this person crashed a ship and it's damaging other players. Don't let those players be killed. We'll just make them survive the crash. Wouldn't really make much sense, but the game would have to do that to account for it. If you wanted to heal someone with a medical gun, you couldn't do that because you can kill someone with a medical gun too. So how do you tell the game, hey, allow this person to add drug effects, but make sure none of those drug effects give them negative health effects? Or the same thing might go for if you are playing in a game and you just decide that there's a situation where somebody needs to get hurt for you to pass a mission or do something else. Like, I feel like when you start putting an artificial limitation on a game like that, it's going to mess with the sandbox part of it. And that's why I don't even need PvP to feel like I'm in danger. I always feel like I'm in danger. I'm terrible at games. I'm constantly scared in the games. Like, please, AI, don't kill me. They're just standing in a corner. But I think the PvP aspect of it, more so than pushing people to fight each other, just having the game systems that support PvP is pretty important. You never went in multiplayer on Elite because everything online said you would die immediately? I never really had any problems. I think I got interdicted a couple times, but I actually didn't know if those were players or AI. If they still plan on 9-to-1 NPC to player solo PvP will be hard outside of Org Wars. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with that. I think I heard recently that maybe it was going 3-to-1, but I'm not sure. Starlight, thank you for the sub. Appreciate your Prime sub. You are awesome. Can't wait for hunting for creatures. You know what? With the Prime sub, honestly, every sub, I'm gonna go ahead and tomato-fy a little bit more. Heck yeah. I appreciate you. Let's zip it up. Hell yeah. You thought Pcache didn't scale. iCache scaled but had too much latency at scale. They mentioned here that it wouldn't be able to hold its latency at scale, which I just simplify as it doesn't scale. Completely expect there to be highly patrolled regions with low risk. Yeah, Patch Kid, I think that seems like their plan. What is this info I'm reading? We're going over a couple different things, having some meandering Star Citizen conversation. You know, good times. And I just was on the letter for the chairman, going over some iCache stuff. If CIG just allows us to spawn where we last logged off with our ship, that would already be a 10,000% improvement. If you have a bed, you should be able to do that. Gloves and glasses next. Nah, I need seeds. Ugh. Squadron 42 was their #1 goal from day one. The PU is their tech testing location for Squadron. The MMO version we know as the PU is secondary to the RPG, which has 2 more RPG games to come out after 42's release. Have they ever said Squadron 42 is an RPG? It always felt like a cinematic game. Otherwise, agreed. There's also the fact that without, like, PvP doesn't just mean pirates, it means bounty hunters. Think about how many people like combat, but don't like ruining other people's gameplay. Like, how many folks are we just going to have sitting around bored waiting for bounties to pop up, waiting for criminal players to go after? That might not be self-regulating. And if it's not, maybe CIG will have to tweak the payouts for bounty hunting. Maybe make it more luxurious, not luxurious, more, what's the word? Tantalizing to PvP bounty hunt. In which case, more people might be able to start getting into that stuff. Think you heard Morph calling it Simatic. I like that. That sounds good. By the way, if anybody is a supporter in here, whether you are a YouTube channel member, Twitch member, Patreon member, you get to come and join our podcasts live every week. I usually do them on Fridays, and today I will have Griffin Gaming and Morphologist on with me to talk about Star Citizen in 2022 and what we can expect in 2023. So if you want to drop by that, make sure to put that on your calendar. That'll be happening in about 5.5 hours, right on the Discord server. So make sure you're sticking around there. You got notifications on, and I will ping you to let you know. None of these aspects is an afterthought. They all combine to form the core of the Star Citizen experience, which we all hope will work. What if they were to allow you to sign up to be a bad guy, in which case you build up a permanent crime stat like a picture on the post office wall and you go red all the time? That's what they're doing. So they've got this system in-game called the reputation system. I'm sure you might know about it. Many of you have seen it. But this is essentially the same thing. Reputation is, in fact, if you look on here, on one of these videos, you'll see that there are 2 different types of the reputation. This is only true for stuff that has to do with unique contacts. They don't have this for organizations, but you can see there's affinity and there's confidence. And they're 2 different readings. One of them is for the kind of person you are. Who are your friends? Who are your enemies? What do you usually do? Which side of the law are you on? That would be, I think, confidence. I'm not entirely sure, but that's one reading. The other reading is, how many missions have you done for me? How successful are you at these missions? What would I rate you in terms of actually getting things done? That does sound like more like confidence, huh? 2 different ratings. And I think the same thing will be done long-term for crime stats. They might shift crime stats into the reputation system, but over time, I think you will have a negative rating that sticks with you, that does not wear off. Your long-term rap sheet, where they talk about all the things you've done. It's in the bed, I think, or something. All the bad things you've done, just this long-term record, right? So you could keep doing good things, but it's not necessarily going to change the fact that people know you're a bad person. They haven't confirmed that necessarily, but I think that's where we're headed with the reputation system and this whole idea of confidence and affinity. Oh, it's STEM. Yo, dude, how you doing? What spreadsheets are you working on? Is that work, or are you doing more Star Citizen balancing? Thanks for coming in, though. Good to see you. SC was always first. Squadron 42 was an add-on. That is, I know this is a very highly debated topic, but they both seem like they were basically introduced at the same time. I think they were both introduced at the same time, but Chris is certainly leaning more towards Squadron. Like, you can see it in the marketing. You can see it in his history of what he tries to make in terms of games. He loves the cinematics. Gosh. So I'm not surprised that even if they did come at the same time or one after the other or something like that, that he did not start to move more towards Squadron 42 over time anyways. Because if you look at the original Kickstarter for it, they're both on the page. And it's confusing. So if you look at it, it says... in this Kickstarter, Star Citizen is a rich universe focused on epic space adventure, trading, and dogfighting in first person, single player, offline or online co-op, and persistent universe. So they have them both here. And then when you scroll down to the stretch goals, at the $5 million stretch goal, you see that they actually include the Star Citizen persistent universe in here. Actually, they have both of them in there. So I guess that was their goal, was 5 million. But I don't know really which one they expect to be the most important, since they're both on here. But yeah, I think they both came around the same time, if not at the same time. But I think Chris started to lean more towards Squadron for sure, in terms of what he wanted to be like his magnum opus. Star Citizen is a game made for PCs 10 years from now. The new graphics cards seem to be doing fairly well. I was seeing 10pound42 was testing this game and getting almost 200 frames per second in space. But he's getting over 60 frames per second now in cities, which is pretty wild. CPU does end up being a big problem with this game too, though. Just wanted to say I really enjoy your content and respect you as a creator. Thank you, Rycops. Keep being positive, down-to-earth force in the verse, and happy holidays. You keep being a positive, happy force in the community as well. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching the stuff. For the price of a soul, not all of us have that kind of money. What's for the price of a soul? For a GPU? Yo, this song slaps. We like never even got through the rest of this. We were talking about Arena Commander improvements they're bringing to 3.18. They're doing a lot of stuff, kind of background stuff with this patch. Let's see, anything super interesting? We got an increase in player limit on free flight. This is definitely good if you want to get into the game with your friends and practice some maneuvers or flight without the PU kind of risk. What else is there? Last Stand, Dual Battle Royale and Squadron, Classic Race, adjusted the skybox in Dying Star to match the upcoming Pyro system. Hey, if you want to see the Pyro skybox first, go into Arena Commander. Look at all these fixed an issue, 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 issues breaking again. 2 weeks later, issues broken. The animations for entering and exiting the MSR's cockpit seat should now work as intended. What? Was this working during my birthday? I feel like I was still falling out of the MSR, but that's great to see. That's cool. Good afternoon, Mistral. Good to see you back here again. Hope you're doing well today. The original Kickstarter was for SC only. Squadron 42 was a single player mode. No, I'm not saying, but that's the name argument. Like, Star Citizen was the original pitch. What I'm saying was the ideas behind Star Citizen. Because like you said, they wanted Squadron to be a single player mode and they wanted Star Citizen to be an MMO, which would explain that both of them came at about the same time. You can do fine with a 3060 Ti or above. Need that 32 gigs of RAM. And ideally a 12th gen Intel or similar processor. True. But also, I've played with 16 gigs of RAM, a 1080 Ti, and an i7 9700K on my computer, and I've been relatively okay. Wasn't great, but it's doable. Turning off clouds does help, yeah. No more a second exit on the MSR. Darn. I'm sure that's what they were going for. It was just a teaser. They were like, this is how you're going to get out at some point. Just go on a whoop right through the glass. You reinstalled your game and now it crashes every few minutes when you're in Loreville. You say anything bad about the Hurstons? If you got money, you can play Star Citizen. Still waiting on a new PC so I can endure this masterpiece. Yeah, and that's... the optimizations will help open it up to more people. That'll be good. When you first started playing, you had a 1080 and an i5 2500K. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's an old one. That's what we were saying, Rycops. They fixed the animations with the MSR, so now there's no more second entrance to the ship. Or second exit, rather. The Hurstons are gracious and glorious leaders. Yes, yes. The Hurstons are wonderful. Hope all is good, and yesterday it was an awesome one. Sorry I couldn't stay. How did it go? The birthday stream was great. It was fantastic. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chatting. Like no problem that you couldn't be there. And I meant thank you for coming by today. No problem that you couldn't be there. I appreciate the good wishes. Or that you could be there but couldn't stay. Sorry. The confusion comes from CR referring to the overall project as Star Citizen. Right. This is before the Kickstarter, apparently, when it was only pledgeable on their site. Yeah, that was very confusing. Even the way the website is laid out is confusing. Hello, Thunder Eye. How you doing? Thank you for the happy birthday wish. Appreciate you. Do clones have birthdays? They have clone days. But we also have clone days. The day that you were cloned or the day that as a clone you were born. Or I guess technically since Star Citizen is terrible, they probably don't tell us we're clones, huh? So it's just generally the day you were cloned. And then you just have to assume and trust that you are the original. Oh my god. Oh, that's cool. It says we're playing. Oh, D&D. I took this as Dungeons and Dragons. Just a Star Citizen status update. Dungeons and Dragons. All right. Can we now talk about next year? Because next year is always so fun. I know I said that we might play the game. But talking is so much more fun, right? Let's look at some of the interesting features that we see. Now, a lot of this, disclaimer, a lot of this isn't updated. Much of this is like just kind of whenever it was updated. So I wouldn't take all of this stuff as the absolute finishing point for this work. As was brought up in the chat, actually, which is a very, very good point in detail. Some of this stuff might have literally been stopped and just put on hold until something else is finished. So while I do use this as kind of a way to think of what might come in the next 12 months, which we're going to do now in chat, it still might not be true, even if we're accounting for 6 to 10 extra months of development. First interesting thing, though, that we are running into here, I believe. Actually, let's talk about the control surfaces. Aerodynamics. You all know about that, right? You guys maybe you saw the video I put out recently, but you definitely have heard of hover mode at least once or twice. This is going to really change things up. I don't know how hard they're going to go with control surfaces. I don't think they're going to go DCS with all of this, but because Star Citizen feels more casual than DCS, but there are a lot of possibilities. There are a lot of prospective players that might not want the game after this change. Cannot wait for control services and all the flight changes. Yeah, I'm so excited to see what they do with it. Star Citizen could be finished in 2014, but Chris made a huge mistake. He asked the player base, what else do you want? I don't even think they would have finished it in 2014. If you look at the stuff they were saying in 2013 about being done with the game, I don't think Star Citizen would have been done in 2014. Don't mention hover mode. The flip side of the 10-year development cycle and alpha status for this game is that it'll probably be around for many more years instead of being a fad. Yeah, it's grown. It's like an actual culture because it's taken so long now. Good morning, Zeph's World. Good to see you. Or early afternoon. Chris is just a movie maker, and Squadron 42 is just his movie game project. He uses SC to fund his hobby, basically, which is why the focus goes there. He's the boss, after all. Right. That's the way it is. Like, Chris's baby is Squadron 42. That's what he loves. That's what he wants to make. That's what his focus is. And that's where most of the company is shifted towards. What's up, Steven? Tail, good to see you. Define done? Probably how I was feeling at the end of my birthday yesterday. When, like, I hit the bed. And then I woke up in the morning. That had to be one of my best real-time examples of done. Ah, God. I love being 30. So many lame jokes. Not like I wasn't doing those 2 days ago. But yeah, the aerodynamic surfaces are a big one. For anybody who doesn't know, flight in the game right now is very arcadey compared to what they want it to be. It's actually... Oh, I don't even have these... It's actually only kind of simulated. Which you can feel. You know, when you fly one ship or another ship in atmosphere, they turn at different rates, they speed up at different rates, they even fall at different rates. This should show up higher. Oh, I gotta change it to Star Citizen flight model. But there's a good one that they did a while ago, and I don't think it'll pop up here because Star Citizen's own videos never pop up when you search for them, weirdly enough. But they model lift and drag to a certain extent, but they don't take into account the actual aerodynamic shape of the ship all that much. So that's what this is. It says ships with control surfaces will be able to use them in atmospheres to aid their maneuverability. This will allow for improved performance from ships that have weak maneuvering thrusters in atmosphere, and bring new depth to aerodynamic flight in the game. Most ships have weak atmospheric thrusters, weak maneuvering thrusters in atmosphere, which means that a lot of big ships are going to start to struggle a lot more in atmosphere after this is done. This is part of their push towards making sure that larger ships sometimes don't want to go down in atmosphere. Instead, send another ship down. Or large ships maybe would spend far too much time and money going down to drop a bunch of cargo off in a city on the planet. So instead, now you are not limited artificially. And this goes back to the whole PvP versus PvP servers, PvE servers. They're not taking away the ability for a ship to land at a city and offload cargo, but they might be throwing enough problems in the person way that they don't consider it anyways. And instead they just drop off at the orbital station. That would then create a job and a market where people could run cargo missions from that orbital station down to the city because the city isn't getting its cargo. So they're all kind of connected, and it's not for sure that they're all going to work that way or that they're going to work together in any way. But this, going back to the original point, that this is focused on making sure that the ships that are focused on atmospheric flight are doing better in atmosphere, have that leg up. And it's going to annoy a lot of people when they make this change. It's going to piss people off. Working on finals and chatting, very much a vibe. What final you going through, Zeph? Squadron 42 was originally a small piece of Star Citizen. No, almost like an entry point to gaining citizenship in the PU if you wanted to go that route, but PU and Squadron were both planned from the start. I don't know if they ever specifically said it was a very small part of it. I personally think it was not. Looking at the way that they marketed the game, everything was a Squadron 42 asset. It was all very Squadron 42 focused and military themed and all this stuff. I think that they were very much leaning in Squadron. But the debate as to whether Squadron was important or not seems like it's fairly subjective. Either way, it did not take long for it to become apparent that they were leaning more into Squadron afterward, as they continued to not really tell us much about it. And here we are now. Like how the Carrack will always crash if you go upside down in atmosphere. The small thrusters can't handle inverted atmo flight. That's the way all the medium to large ships should be. Honestly, light ships too. And we'll get to another point that continues to build on that idea, but I think light ships and fighters shouldn't be able to do that either. Lucen, thank you for the happy late birthday. Appreciate you. Greg, I'm right there with you. I don't care either way. I like both the games. They both sound very exciting to me. And like, who am I? I'm a tomat. I'm not hard to please. I think it's become pretty apparent to anybody who hangs out and chat here a lot with me. I'm not hard to please. I like cool games. I like space stuff. I like fun things. Food. I don't know why I threw food in there. I just started naming things that I like. But honestly, like, you could show me a trailer of like Outer Worlds 2 and be like, ooh, look at this. It's a space game. We know nothing about it. And I'm going to be like, yeah. It's part of my downfall. Oh, I hear a saxophone. Yo, I can't even get more tomat bagel, but thank you for the 5 subs. Just makes me feel more like a tomato, but I've already got like the full getup on, so can't do much more. Appreciate you though, Bagel. Starlight, I see you subbed as well. I'm sorry I missed that. Subbed for 2 months now. Thank you so much. You saw the original pitch. It was the persistent universe. Squadron 42 was mentioned as an option to join the military and basically be a one-player experience. Both were mentioned in the original. Right. Light ships and fighters should be able to fly upside down as long as they have the proper wing structure, airspeed, and angle of flight. Well, if you're flipping wings upside down, your angle of flight's gonna have to be all kinds of weird, right? Turkish good, everyone should try it. Should try. Turkish food is great. If that's what you're asking. Red face paint. Don't trigger you with Outer Worlds. You will activate in rage and disappointment. Do you not like Outer Worlds? All right. Let's look for another good one. I think here's another one. So there's the Aopoa Santok Yai, which is a pretty cool ship. It's like a heavy fighter from the Xi'an, so it's got that same sort of style as the Scout. Aopoa. It's got the same kind of look as the Scout. The vertical structure. It's a little fragile looking. It folds up and lands a little bit differently. Decent size. It looks like a one-person ship. But it is heavier. It's bigger. And honestly, I think it looks much better. Very good looking ship. Very cool. Can't wait to see it in the game. Of course, with the omnidirectional thrusters, mostly omnidirectional. Maybe it looks like they only focus on the back. Definitely a more maneuverable ship than others. We were just talking about control surfaces and aerodynamics. This is the kind of ship that will do well in atmosphere just because those thrusters can point down if need be. But right below that is AR and map marker system rework. Oh, gosh. Now, I know this is a rework, but I really hope that this work is actually done and it points towards them working the AR markers in the map, making them adjustable for us. It's like the AR marker and map system is already bad. You can't even tell if you're jumping to a space station or an OM point around a moon, right? So this is good. I hope we get new symbols, and I hope to God that they let us place our own markers sometime soon. Ooh, I'm excited for the Spirit too. Keystone, thank you for the call, for the likes. If you're watching on YouTube live, take a second, give the stream a like. It really helps us out. Much appreciation. Sunbury Studios, you've been crunching programming your own game for 8 years. Had your channel on non-stop for the year. Thanks. Hey, that's awesome. How's that game going for you? How's the development process? You want to be able to jump without plotting a course? Sounds like that's going to be Quantum Boost. Not quite quantum travel, but at least going without a course. Ooh, map markers for mining. Being able to mark down valuable resources on the star map for other people. That would be so cool. No problem, Keystone. People are saying 3.18 today, huh? Oh, it must be right. All right, we got the Argo SRV as well, introducing us to vehicle tractor beams. This is one of the things I put on my recent recent video that was talking about new vehicle features that are coming in next year. I think vehicle tractor beams are basically a guarantee at this point. Not only have we seen that the SRV is in work, had a whole bunch of updates on it from white box to gray box to concept, but we've also seen a couple of teasers from CIG themselves, as they like to do. Let me see if I can find it here. I actually don't know if I've got it. But they've also given us a picture, a brief look at the vehicle-based tractor beams. No, I don't think it's here. This is, again, all SRV gray box footage. This is the first ship that will probably introduce tractor beams to the verse. It's been one we've been waiting for a while. They started work on it, I think, back in May, maybe? April or May. So it's probably due to be in the game sometime in the Q1 or Q2 update. I think what really is going to matter here isn't necessarily the ship itself, but the tractor beam technology they're working on, whether or not it's actually ready to go in the game. And I'm trying my hardest to find an example of just a single ship-based tractor beam for you. This is what the handheld tractor beam looks like. And you can see that it's got some things going on. It honestly looks kind of like a clutch plate. A flywheel. It looks kind of like a flywheel on the tip of it. But that's what tractor beams in the verse look like. And if I do find this vehicle tractor beam, you will see that they've got some similarities. I don't think I have it though, unfortunately. As these things are, sometimes I have them, sometimes... Oh, I have it! Look at that! There it is. So you can definitely see the similarities between these two tractor beams. You can tell this is the handheld tractor beam, this is the vehicle tractor beam, and of course, they're throwing that 315 teaser in the background just to make sure that you know for sure, hey, this is a tractor beam. Made by Grey Cat, which is what the other ones are made by. So we know for sure that, like... And this came in November of last year. So they've been working on tractor beams pretty consistently for a while. Maybe not consistently, but thoroughly. And if we actually look that up as well in here, tractor beams, as said, since Q4 of 2021, where that picture was from, are finishing work in June of 2023, while the SRV is finishing up in, I believe, January of 2023. This is scheduled work. This could be completely different, but I think they'll probably hold the ship until tractor beams are ready. That's just my guess. There's no knowing what's actually going to happen. All kinds of things go wrong or go right. You saw something on Board Gamer Stream. It seemed to be showing a different way of quantum travel or quantum boost. Yes, quantum boost is the shorter form of travel now. I'm going to send you a link here. Okay. Sorry. Let's just listen to this ad real quick. Okay. Flying in space. If we go to the heat system, control surfaces. Did I talk about quantum boost in this video? I feel like I did. Oh my god, guys, you have no idea how many of these comments I get on my videos. Like, I go and I spend hours upon hours doing research to try and figure out if something is coming out soon or if it's going to take too long. And then this dude's like, can't wait for the implementation in 2037, as we sit here and look why they've been working on it. And it's not going to... Like, I put all this evidence into the video of why it's being worked on, and then people just the most low effort comments. Anyways, quantum boost is like a mid-distance version of travel. It's slower than quantum travel. It's like 1/10 the speed. It's not as you have to get a destination and go there. I think from what it seems like they're saying, they want it to be unguided travel, so you can just kind of pick a location and go, or at least set a marker and go to that marker. but it's slower. It's more focused on exploration, and it is a little bit more interactive. It's kind of like Super Cruise from Elite Dangerous. Tractor beams don't work anyway yet because the IFCS cancels motion. Tractor beams can't happen until all ships get an IFCS update to allow them to work. Have they said that? Did they say that's a blocker for tractor beams? That might be what they're doing. Maybe that's the tractor beam work that they're doing. Who knows? Wave 1 is taking so long. It is. YouTube gives you ads to watch your own videos. They do. I have YouTube Premium on my other account, so I don't have to worry about them. But yeah, I get ads. I just don't pay for it on my brand account. I pay for it on my personal account. Heard there was a leak saying server meshing is only scheduled for the end of 2023, so maybe Pyro Q1 2024. Server meshing end of 2023 is not a hot take. Honestly, that might not even be a leak. That might just be somebody guessing that. And I think that's probably the most popular guess you're going to hear in the community at this point. I wouldn't trust the leaks, but I think plenty of people have plenty of reason to believe it will be coming no earlier than the end of next year. I don't know what they're going to do with the rest of tractor beams after the SRV. I don't know if the SRV is going to be a separate system or what. If it's not a separate system, maybe we'll see utility mounts use tractor beams shortly after. But there's no way of actually knowing. 2037 is soon. It's soon! Kind of like full impulse instead of warp? I don't know. It's just a slower way of traveling kind of long distances. AI in general can't really be improved, including AI crew, until they fix server tick rate. Well, we certainly won't notice it. Don't think we'll get the SRV until Q3 or Q4 next year. It's possible. It is good to see it next year, though. But yeah, much like the Vulture, it'll probably be the ship itself is good to go before the actual gameplay is. What's my favorite solo ship? I don't know. I like the MSR still. Not really any ships that I particularly like all that much that are smaller. 100 series is nice. Has anyone else felt the burnout of playing solo or with small crews? I see no other way to get the full experience out of the larger ships without an AI crew. I almost never play on larger ships. It's too much. It's too much to handle, too much responsibility for me. Alright, what else can we look at here? So we were at aerodynamic control surfaces, right? Bounty Hunter V2. Oh, this is a big one. This is the introduction of virtual AI, which they do say in the description, and the security services. Like, oh my gosh. Bounty Hunter V2, since they haven't really talked about it much, is probably nowhere near a Q1 release. And that's why I barely talk about it just yet. If we hear about it next quarter, then I'll feel better. But as for now, nothing that has depended on Quantum has really gone all that smoothly, so I'm imagining this will be delayed further. But it will be cool. Suddenly, bounty hunting will not be, you get a marker on a player, you follow that marker until you kill them. It'll be checking in with comm arrays, checking in with landing services, doing scans, reading distress beacons, actually looking at clues to find your bounty. And then with the way that they're dealing with rope and restraining people, most likely taking people in alive sometime soon. So bounty hunting V2 is very exciting. This is going to push bounty hunting to being probably the most in-depth profession that we have whenever it comes in. So I think this would be more engaging than mining at that point. So we'll keep an eye on this next year for sure. Or rather until 2037. That's when we'll look for it. Like my outfit? Who is it? Oh, I'm wearing Purple Tomat, a great designer out near the Pepper Patch. Just beautiful threads. Absolutely gripping. I love them. Hard to find people that want to be a part of a large crew for you. There's not much to do as large crew right now. I think it'll be a lot easier once we have engineering in game, hopefully next year. But I don't think that we're really going to see people excited for large crews until then. JG with the 500 bits. Sorry I missed that. Thank you so much, my friend. How you doing today? Current bounty hunter is essentially a wall hack. Yeah, it's really not great. Breathing? Well, okay, that's good. That's a start. I hope more than that. Slap some big spherical eyes on top to make it look like Kermit. Okay, so past bounty hunting, what else is there? Building interiors is one people are really excited for. We talked about this on the podcast at length. Me, Astropub, and Execute talked about it, and I honestly was a little turned off from what I'm hearing about this feature now. People are saying that not only is this planned to just be systemic and expand the size of cities and stuff, they're saying that every single building is supposed to have an interior, which I don't think seems necessary. Not that I'm going to call what needs to or doesn't need to happen with the game, but I would love to hear more explanation as to why that would be needed. Just thought of a reason for the showers in ships. Copy what MGS did. As you got dirt and cover in blood from killing, then he had to shower, his status dropped. You do, it affects the social gameplay, which you don't have to care about. But if you go and see an NPC, they might comment or withhold information based on how much you prepare yourself, what you're wearing, if you're clean, if you take care of yourself. Another feature that people will probably hate with their guts. Cargo system refactor we've talked about. Let's talk about cave archetypes. We've got several types of caves coming out. So first, we know already that there are these sand caves, which they've shown us plenty of, which are beautiful. I mean, these are some of the nicest looking organic areas I've seen in this game so far. Absolutely love what we're seeing with the sand caves. And in the future, we are actually supposed to start getting things like acidic caves, ice caves, overgrown caves, and I think there was one more. Oh, a remake to the rock caves. So we don't really have any examples of those different caves. Here is one quick shot that kind of might give us an idea of what an overgrown cave looks like. Obviously, there's some derelict stuff going on here. This is definitely like a structure. But, you know, the flora that's around, the moss that's growing, this is the kind of vibe I think they'll give us with the overgrown caves. So they're working on all of these. I'm not sure if they're all planned on being there next year. I think the rock cave rework would definitely be there next year. Obviously, we're getting sand caves and maybe ice caves in Microtech. I'm not sure about overgrown though, but they've got some more work going on with caves that they're doing, and we'll see when that happens. As of right now, they're still mostly locations. There are some missions inside of the old caves, but I don't think they're really doing much with the locations they want to be doing long term. I think even though they've got the tools to make these locations, they're still planning on getting them out before they really start filling them. Oh yeah, the inventory no longer being shared between planet and station. That was, I think that was a year ago they changed that. Have them hire a Minecraft developer to generate random caves. They've got a pretty cool system. They have a pretty cool system built out using Houdini to make caves. What about rivers? Haven't heard much about them recently. They gave us a update on rivers like a month ago. Basically just that they have figured out a way to take their technology that builds the rivers and expand it to cover entire planets. So
earlier this year, I've been focusing on the visual quality of the rivers themselves, so that when you explore them, they are looking better than ever. I think the biggest visual change I've introduced to the rivers is the new cliff spawn points. Previously, where we had steep edges along the river, we just had the terrain texture that we get on steeper parts of the terrain. But I wanted to kind of increase the visual fidelity of this by spawning cliff meshes along the edge of it. So that's exactly what we've done. For the cliff mesh spawn points, we add a new spawn point at the height of where the terrain would have been if the river wasn't there, so that we can control where the top of the cliff is relative to the edge of the terrain near it. And that's these red spawn points you can see here.
So this is just showing that they've changed the ability for the rivers to have actual like cliffs surrounding them now. I think they've added quite a few rivers to both Microtech and Hurston right now, and they'll just keep adding them to any planets that would normally have rivers. Obviously Hurston or Crusader would have a little bit of trouble maintaining a river.
I'm really excited to see all of the new rivers come into 3.18 very soon. Put a lot of work into improving the visual quality of the rivers, as well as improving the tooling for our artists to be able to place more and more interesting rivers. Our tech artists have been hard at work for the object presets for the rivers to make sure that we're getting really cool distributions of objects around them. And I just think what we're going to see in 3.18 is going to be a cut above what we've had so far, and I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks all.
Yo, Griffin's in here. Hey, my man, I was just letting people know that we're going to have a good old chat later today. How's it going, dude? Glad to have you in here, man. I hope you've been having a good week and a good December overall. He meanders a bit, but he gets there in the end. Is that me? I meander a bit, that's for sure. There are plenty of ships that are going to have tractor beams at some point. Just knowing when each one of them will be. So yeah, that's rivers. That's what we know of. They're adding quite a few in 3.18. What else is there? Oh, the river dev, gotcha. Stop by to chill. I hope you stop by to Star Citizen too. God, this is so hot. I need to take this off for a little bit. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. What a great time for me to point out that I am once again rocking another piece of our new Christmas merch. Christmas or Luminalia themed, but it's Tomat dropping off presents on a particularly snowy planet, not giving it any names. But if you want to check them out, great little Christmas gift. Also, it helps support us. All right, so next up was Charge and Drain T0. This one's always been interesting to me because we've only ever seen it really used once. So I think here, actually maybe twice. Hold on a second. Charge. Door. Manual door open. Door. Yeah, I think we've only seen this done once in the game, and this is like what I think they're trying to say is charge gameplay. So let's read what it says. All back-end tech related tasks related to creating the first pass of the charge and drain power feature that will be used in future locations and mission updates. Not really much info. But I want to say, did they do it in Squadron 42, or am I thinking of another ISC where they did it? I almost feel like it was like an ISC episode where they showed us manually opening the door, but I have no idea how I would find that. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I've got this saved. There's only one time that I remember seeing this, but essentially it was pumping a switch to build enough power in the door to get the door to open. And I think that's generally what this is about. Power to different objects in the game that you can charge on the spot and use. No, I don't think I have anything for this. So we don't know much about this. This has almost never been talked about. And when it is, it's very minimal. But scheduled work for it was finishing up this quarter. I think we'll probably see some more work scheduled for this once they get started again in February, because there's no way this is close to being done. Tomato taken off the clothes on stream equals salad dressing. More like a tossed salad, if you know what I mean. CIG never said every building would have interiors, just that many would. That's the way I thought it. They were very insistent with the idea that CIG recently did say that every building would have an interior. So, again, that's why I was questioning it. We'll have to see if they clarify further sometime soon. Alright, what else is there? Crusader Spirit, who's not excited for that? Who's not excited for another 40 to 50 meter ship? Like, that's such a perfect size ship for the type of play that we have right now. And it's a beautiful ship too. Interested in seeing how it turns out. Cutting T2! Another thing that we don't really see too much of. Although we definitely saw some cutting in this very demo. Let's see if I can... Oh, here we go. Here's the charging that I was talking about. So no power in the door. He accesses this... Let me turn down the music a bit. He accesses this little panel next to the door. Opens the handle. And it's funny because, like, clearly this wasn't actually working in the game, but you can see all these ideas that they had for systems they wanted, that they faked for these demos back then. And then now they're finally getting the work done for them. Wonder how much differently it'll be. But anyways, pumps the lever. Pump, 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 pump. Gives the door enough power and charges it to the point where it will open. So, like, we'll have stuff like that we can open doors with. We will also have... things like this, where you might just have, like, a tool that you can put on the door that forces it open for you instead of having to pump and charge and drain it. We might be able to cut through a door in order to open it instead of doing everything manually ourselves, or might be able to use a breaching charge, literally just put a bomb on the door to blow into it. Probably going to be used for things like ship breaches and stuff. So they have a few different ways for us to get around doors. Funny, because doors are already such a problem that you can't really get around. But that is in line with the cutting T2 that I'm mentioning here and the charge and drain that we looked at. So cutting is going to be systemic as well. They say here that this will primarily include the ability to freeform cut on specific surfaces. So I'm guessing some things will be coated in a certain colored surface that you'll be able to cut through, whether it be attachment points or tools or vehicle stuff. Been watching the YouTube comment, good stuff. Thank you, Chroma. This game needs lightsabers. Ugh. Need the same but for elevators. Yeah, for sure. So that's cutting T2. Derelict spaceships is another one. This is one that confuses me, confounds me. I don't know what their plan with derelicts is right now. The way that they're going about it is a bit strange, but it looks like they're finishing up a sprint at least working on them. So I guess that means the derelicts we're getting in 318 might be the only ones we get for a while. I'm not really sure. Distortion propagation is something that we've been starting to hear a little bit about. As we can see, it's starting to be worked on. They're experimenting with ships or shields and damage from weapons and armor ratings and all that stuff. So this might be related to that. This says further work on this damage type to allow correct propagation into systems. This makes the location of impact much more important, as powered items move closer to the impact will begin to suffer more severely. So you can target like the power supply of a ship and shut it down faster. Will we ever see a day when the doors in the verse vary in style? Like the doors at stations, planets, etc. They are pretty much all the same. I think they'll look different. I don't think they'll all function that much differently from each other. Dynamic Events has a lot of work going on with 9 teams. What could they be working on now? We know that there are more dynamic events planned. We know that the idea of dynamic events needs to change a lot because right now they're still launched by the studio, which is kind of against the point of dynamic events. So maybe we'll get another update on that in Q1 as well. No updates on 318. What else is here? Ooh, EVA T2 is fun. This is a good one. If you haven't seen what the new version of EVA looks like, I'll show you right now.
Action.
So it's a lot more cinematic. It looks a lot more natural. They've changed up the entire way that the player looks and interacts with the area. And they're also adding something in called 0G push and pull, which we'll look at on the progress tracker here shortly. But this is what EVA looks like. So kind of like you're swimming. It just looks better. You're clearly using those EVA thrusters, which they've already said, you see them on the back there, they've already said are going to start to be limited soon once EVA T2 is in. In fact, you can look at the progress tracker here and see that it says, introduces limited EVA fuel and encourages the use of 0G push and pull and the multi-tools tractor beam. So we'll be a little bit more hopeless when we're floating out there in space. But this is how it'll look. Why are bald eagles called bald eagles if they aren't bald? I don't know. I always assumed it was because we considered their white feathers to be their head and their brown feathers to be their plumage, or their feathers rather. And so because they were covered in brown feathers but their head was white, they looked bald. That's what I assumed. So you can see they're using 0G push and pull here to just kind of creep along the surface of this space station. They show it in 0. Yeah, here we go. It's a funny looking animation, but it looks good. It works. It doesn't make a ton of sense for why their body isn't just floating off the surface. We're just going to have to assume there's some kind of natural gravity going on between you and the surface you're on, but you know, a little arcadey, that's okay. It's still the fact that this is possible does add to that sim vibe for me enough. I think gamifying it to the point where you don't have to constantly, I don't know, use magnets, I guess, to stay close. Magnetic gloves and boots, could say that, yeah. This does remind me of the Citadel as well, yeah. And you can see you can stay in place and do some twisting with your body to look around. Obviously, it's a lot more of a polished and actual game feeling experience than what we've had in Star Citizen, where you're in this constant single animation bouncing into things and not really having any direction. This looks much more like a finished system that's ready to go into a game as an actual method of navigation. I'm sure there are plenty of bugs with it and stuff they have to figure out. But, I mean, if we just look at this time, this is 86 weeks of work starting at the end of, halfway through 2021. They worked on it for a year and a half on and off. And it's just now coming to finishing up, and we're starting to see the effects of that. And this is, again, part of the initial Squadron 42 delay. People think that because they've focused so much of their work on Squadron 42, that means we're constantly going to keep seeing Star Citizen delays. I think we're only going to see delays for the first year because they said, hey, everything that's releasing end of 2021, let's hold off on it, polish it for Squadron, release it in a year and a half. Everything that's releasing beginning of 2022, same thing. Mid 2022, same thing. I don't think they delayed everything at the end of 2021, polished it, and are going to release it to Star Citizen and then start on more stuff. You know what I mean? Like, everything got delayed a certain amount of time. They didn't push stuff off like 3 years. So I think that this is just indicative of more of the features we're going to start to see over the next year. EVA T2 is finishing up. And if you look at other things that maybe the actor feature team, because that's really the main team we have to pay attention to, who took their time away and decided to focus on Squadron, them and a couple of other teams. But if you look at some of the other work that they're working on, it's not all finishing at the same time. Sliding, swimming, the HUD update, physical interactions, ladders, mop and bucket, which is a really funny one. The cargo system refactor, like all these things have different levels of work that are going on. So I don't think we're going to get a couple of these features from Squadron and then nothing for a while, but we'll see. Either way, EVA T2 is one that's been in the works for a while. I think it looks pretty good, and I'm interested to see when it's going to come to Star Citizen. I don't know if that'll be first half or second half of next year, but I do think we'll see it next year. And you can see one more example here of what it's like when you run up to a wall, you put your hands out, you catch yourself. They edited the video because it was honestly pretty glitchy. But you get the vibe of EVA T2. JG, catch you later. Thanks for dropping by and for the bits, for the support. They could use EVA to make that sort of motion look correct. You're right. What else we got? Flak ammunition is a weird one. This was weird when it was added, and I'm guessing it's mostly important for... No, it says only Star Citizen. So, I don't know. I don't understand that one. FPS radar and scanning is another thing that's much like EVA T2 that we've seen and know has been worked on for quite some time, specifically for some new improvements. So we can see here, FPS radar and scanning is an 8-team work over the course of since Q1 2021. So it'll be 2 years total since the work really started in haste on this. And it will probably go for a little bit longer, but we can see that they've polished it up and made it look pretty good for Squadron, and will likely be a huge improvement to the new player experience when we get into this game. Imagine how many things you wouldn't be confused about if you had an easy to see prompt to let you know, hey, you should be using this, you should be interacting with this. Or if you could scan things to know even better. I think this will be a really good addition to the game. And I hope we see it in the first couple quarters of next year, but I don't know. So you can see they did a little FPS radar and FPS ping. It marked all the objects in the room for them. They can now look at them to get a prompt. And instead of telling you to like automatically hold F to interact with stuff, now it's finally telling you, hey, you can just tap F to hold or tap F to interact. And if you know, holding F brings up more context, which I think is a much better way to go about it. Because a lot of people were like, hey, why can't I just hit a button to interact? So this is a good change, making things a lot more apparent. Yeah, I'm sure flak ammo is important for certain situations, especially with capital ship combat. It was just like never talked about, and then it just got added to the progress tracker, I think maybe a year and a half ago or so. And it was one of those things I was like, well, yeah, okay, but still. So yeah, it's you can also now interact with things while you're holding things. It's just overall an update to the interaction system. I don't think they're done with it. I think this is all we'll see and that's why I think there's going to be a couple more quarters of work, but I do hope we get it in the first half of next year. We got some clothing updates. Gen 12 renderer, which is a great one. Hacking T0 is a 10-team feature. 97 weeks of work. Probably still not really close to done. We've seen just about nothing about hacking. The last thing that I have here from hacking was 2021, when they finally showed us an example of what they wanted the UI to look like. I'm sure it has changed so much since this, because they've changed the method of hacking since this video was released. But you got this idea of how you'd have to progress through this sort of 3D interface. There would be counter AI or counter programs that would try to slow you down as you try and reach a certain area. They've talked about this model of hacking. They've also talked about the model of hacking of injecting pieces of code that are pre-written into a program. We still don't really know too much about it, to be honest, and I don't know what the plan is with hacking, so we just have to sit and wait. But if it does come next year, that'll be a pretty nice addition. Hacking is one of the things that they were gonna release, and then they decided to hold back and make it more polished and better for the game before they did so. So used to hitting so used to answering that question. Only thing you don't like is the key prompt itself, very unimmersive. Just say it's like an AR prompt that pops up on your helmet visor. I'm sure you'll be able to turn it off. Need your hacking so you have better use of the MSR. Need hacking so that going and shutting off comm arrays and resetting crime stats actually has some level of skill required. I mean, it has levels of skill, but the hacking process is just hitting a button right now. All right, let's keep going. Infiltrate and defend missions are... Okay, those are underground bunker missions. Jump points. Man, like, these have been in work for so long. I'm so interested in hearing more about, like, what is even needed for jump points. Repair was a nice, obvious consequence, or nice consequence of salvaging. I want to see hacking like Deus Ex, to be honest. I really like hacking in Deus Ex games. Ladders T1, we've seen some of that, even in this same video, actually. Some of the new platforming controls. I'll show you this one. It's not super interesting, but I'll show you it because it is another sign of the polish going into the game now, which is important to take note of. Because they're definitely working on and focusing on different things than they did 2, 3, 4 years ago. Where is that video? Is it in the beginning? Wait, somebody must have... Yeah, there we go. Okay. So here's some of the new platforming changes. Everybody feels like we're super restricted in terms of movement in this game, right? It feels blocky. You don't know what works and what doesn't. And you can see that it seems they've gotten a much better, more systemic method of allowing people to move around and platform in the game. A little less clunky, maybe. Still needs some work on animations, but it's way better. And again, this goes towards the more polished feel that the game is starting to get now, with the way that they're starting to think about the game and what needs to come next. And that is, we can't be playing just a half-assed alpha anymore. We need to start getting into the point where the game functions kind of like a game. You're looking forward to puttering around the ship, doing preventive maintenance, maybe having harvested interesting shaped scars on your ship. I look forward to making little oopsies with important mechanics and equipment on my friend's ships. We need a whole ass alpha. Give me that ass alpha. That alpha ass. Lockable containers. We saw that. You get to put things into containers and set codes on them. This will be really good for stuff that you want to go on your ship. Lorville Cityscape is a reworked Lorville. We've seen quite a bit of this. It's the newest city, except it's not a new city. It's a remake of the oldest city in the game, which honestly really needs it. So this is actually a remake because the first time they made a city, they made it to work as a city. Now they've realized the potential for gameplay in cities, for areas in cities, and just overall to get more people together. So we could see some of these reworks here, what it looks like. They're well on their way with this. See the before and after. Gets much bigger. As you can see, it goes from this, and you see kind of like where the city's perimeter is. There's little neighborhoods here and there patched throughout, but ultimately it's a very compact city in comparison to what they want to do with it now. So they pushed the hills back. They expanded the area out to have more neighborhoods. That central area has bigger buildings in it now. Overall, definitely showing that they have much bigger plans for cities than what they've had already. And I think they realize that they need to start building more gameplay potential into cities if people are actually going to use them. Otherwise, they're just lag fests that nobody wants to go to. And it's well on its way. Like I said, they're already flying throughout it. Like there's a lot of gray box and final art stuff going on. This isn't that far away. Looks like fun. It reminds me of old R-Corp, and I do understand people saying that it's kind of missed, it's lost a little bit of its uniqueness because it looks a little bit more like R-Corp. I hope, though, when you're on your feet in the city, you do get that oppressive vibe of Hurston while you're there. But as you can see, the scheduled work for that is finishing up. Q1 probably will go further, and we probably won't see it with the Q1 patch, but it's possible. I did a little poll on Twitter to see who thought it would happen recently, and I think most people were saying they think it'll be the interaction system that gets updated. The map and radar system rework. 89 weeks of work is a bunch of BS. It's been worked on for so much longer than that. And I highly doubt they're anywhere near done with it at this point, just from monthly reports. But they say an overhaul of the underlying system and associated UI for the star map, radar, local area map, and mini map. There's a chance they release this with FPS scanning and radar. I think that would be a really good look on their part. But I don't even know if the map and radar system are going to come this year. I really don't. I thought it would be last year, or I thought it'd be this year. And I was just wildly wrong. So I'm not going to make any predictions as to when that comes, but when it does, I think that's going to be one of the biggest changes to the game, because the map is probably one of the worst parts of the game and something everyone has to struggle through. So we'll all be pretty happy for that. MFD rework is falling right in line with that. We've seen some cool UI advancements that they've got planned for the MFDs. They look a lot better. Colors are better. Details are better. Animations are looking better. So I'm excited for that. We've waited long enough for it. And hopefully with this change, we'll be able to customize the MFDs and make sure they stay on the screen when we tell them to. Miss Cole C, I know a lot of you are waiting for that. MobyGlass rework. Another one that they showed us in this video, and another great look, something else that has been improved greatly because of Squadron 42 and is looking much better than what we have right now. My friends, ladies and gentlemen, the new MobyGlass. And it has a lot of the same vibes and look of the old one. Clearly much more interactive. We've got an objectives list. We actually got a notification center, thank God. You get these notifications like beacons and messages and party invites, and you're like, why are these all in different places? Love a notification center. And then you go through and they also show you your contract manager, which looks so much better. You've got chat systems that you can open on the side. Oh, sorry, this is messages, active chat, open messages. It all looks really good and more compact. I think the doubling effect of the graphics is a little distracting, and they've got some more work to do on this in terms of polish. But overall, this looks way better than our current MobyGlass. There's the contract manager. It looks like it gives you a lot better idea of what your objectives are, what the actual text for the mission is, who is involved. Like I hope this is how they lay out the kind of role system to let you know what's going on with your ship, who can do what on your ship and stuff like that. But overall, it's just much better understanding of the information. Yeah, records like requests is good too. Obviously, there's still a couple of glitches there, a couple of hiccups and stuff, but that is the new MobyGlass, and I like it. I can't wait for a new MobyGlass and a new map rework. Could you guys imagine? Just like think for a minute how much we've been suffering from both of those things. Imagine if we got a new MobyGlass, a new map rework, new MFDs, new quantum markers, new quantum travel, and the aerodynamic flight changes all in the same year. It's so hard for me to look at the potential additions of 2023 and not think we're going to get some very hard-hitting features that make a big difference. Might not be the best year of Star Citizen or the year it blows up, but when I keep going through the list of just possibilities, not even things that have been taunted or teased, just like the possibilities based on what they're showing us, the amount of things that could pop up next year in the game are... please. This is partner development. I'll drop the link in the chat for you if you want it. I think you messaged that from YouTube, right? Nope, that was Twitch. Let me send that over to you. Won't we be able to choose the color of our Mobies as well? Maybe someday. I bet they didn't put that a very high priority though. You'd be happy with the star map from the website? Oh, heck yeah. That map is amazing. Yeah, bad functioning map is, I think, a reason a lot of people decide not to get too involved in the game. And these are all, I could call these big quality of life improvements because the stuff's already there and it functions. These are just better versions of them. But this is game changing. These UI updates are going to actually be game changing, especially the star map. The star map is... oh my gosh. The star map can actually ruin your play session. It can be game breaking. So something that allows for as many of the things as they've said is going to come in the new star map. I mean, they've said that it's visualizing space clouds. You'll be able to zoom in all the way to where you are on the ground. You'll be able to see ships moving around on the star map. You'll be able to filter things out and search for things. Like, this is a full-on star map that they're talking about. So that plus the MobyGlass stuff is very, very exciting, at least on the UI front. I love that. You can get different colored bands for your MobyGlass, yeah. Not UI though. Love your continued enthusiasm. It's hard not to. Like I said, I'm a hype beast. I mean, I'll temper expectations, but when I see good news, I focus a lot on good news. When I see bad news, you know, I try to shed a light on it and I talk about it, but I'm attracted to positive things. It's very exciting to see things that are going well. There are plenty of things that are going wrong. I just prefer to focus more on the things that are going well. Bring attention to both, but like the way I see it, if I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, I'm not going to be doing it very well. And if I'm dwelling in the negativity that I don't enjoy, I'm going to get worse at it. So I might as well figure out a way to make content that dwells in the stuff that I enjoy, but acknowledges the stuff that I don't. And that's why I still try to put messages acknowledging the negativity, acknowledging the things that go wrong, acknowledging the problems, while doing my regular content. And I mean, if you're here on the stream, you know I can be plenty negative. My enthusiasm just outweighs it. But thanks for being here anyways. Think we're going to get all those features with the first iteration? You mean with the first update of the year? No, not with 3.19. I don't know how they're going to lay these features out. I straight up have no idea, because I look at the year and I'm like, we're going to probably get 3, maybe 4 updates next year. And I look at the amount of features that might be ready to be implemented yet next year, and I'm like, how could we not have at least 2 game-changing updates with these features that we have listed? I mean, we haven't even gotten through a lot of this stuff. Remember everything we've looked at so far. From the aerodynamic control surfaces, to EVA T2, to the new platforming, to the map, to the MFDs, to the all of that stuff, and consider that we're only in M's. New player experience. This is going to capitalize a ton on those scanning and interaction systems that we talked about, and also focuses on the first 30-minute experience in cities. What could that be packaged with? Maybe the Lorville City rework. Maybe they focused with the Lorville City rework on making it very new player friendly and capable of running people through tutorials to teach them the game. What if that's the plan with the new Lorville? It is the test bed for how they teach people those first 30 minutes. That could be done in Q1 of next year and completely change the new player experience for people, making it way easier to get into the game, to check out the new the free flies, and just to come and play with your friends a little bit. New interdiction scenarios, making use of quantum. I think these are related to what we were going to see at the end of this year. They ended up getting delayed, so I wouldn't put too much hope on these, but it is something they're working on. But let's keep going forward. We've got the new outposts coming in that we know are coming to Stanton now, as well as Pyro. These are pretty big outposts that honestly look more like towns at this point. Let me pull up a video of one. It's like they keep calling them outposts, and then you go and you look at what they are, and it's like, all right, yeah, in Stanton we have outposts, which are like this single building right here, and then they're like, oh yeah, we've got new outposts coming to the game. You're like, what's an outpost? And they show you this. You're like, okay, well, that's something a little bit different. And then they've got themed variants for them, persistent hangars, which would be falling in line with the cargo refactor, the next version of it. Again, I'm like, where the heck is the next version of the cargo refactor going to fit in next year? Because that's a game changer. The next version of cargo refactor includes manual ship loading. It includes ship timers. It includes storing your cargo in these hangars. Physical damage and breakability. We'll be talking about parts of your ship breaking off and stuff like that. Physics rope simulation is going to help with restraining people for bounty hunting. The interaction systems we talk about with lockers and inventory, where you might be able to have loadouts in your locker that you can click a button and add all your stuff instead of having to re-equip everything all the time. Visor and helmet HUD rework, adding a new look and feel to your HUD, including new equip and remove experiences of your helmet so you can take it off and hold it with you. Boot up and power down sequences for your armor and transitions between FPS and ship HUDs. And speaking of which, new ship HUDs, which we also know are being worked on. We've seen like the Drake specific ship HUDs that they're working on because they want to differentiate all the ship developers from each other. There's just a lot of stuff, guys. I know you didn't ask me, but the scam whiners will never stop. It is their online identity and they can't lose it or they will have nothing. I think a lot of people who cry the game is scam will at some point understand it's not. At the very least, they'll understand that their actual problem is just that it's taking too long. For them. Depends on who you are to say whether it's taking too long or not. Let's see. What else is there? Prone T1. I don't know how big a deal that will be, but okay. Pyro quantum simulation. Yeah, I don't trust this at all. They're saying it'll be done in 6 months, or at least the scheduled work. They've got plenty more work to do on quantum, I'm sure, but hopefully an update on it at least next year. Rescue and transport missions are another one we might see next year. Instead of shipping cargo from one station to another, you're bringing people from one planet to another on a vacation. Resource management. Becoming an engineer in the game, and not something that we haven't seen yet. You can look it up on YouTube. It's all over the place. I did a video on it. It shows up all the way down here. Shame on you, YouTube. But you can see, like, this stuff is literally working as they disconnect relays in the ship, cutting off power to certain parts of the ship, and disabling the shields so that you can kind of, like, sabotage a ship from the inside and make it attackable from the outside. We've seen that they're allowing you to change your pressure and temperature in rooms. You can suffocate people by venting a room and turning it into a vacuum. You can fill it up with oxygen so they're okay. You can do the same with fires by cutting off the oxygen in a room. The fire eventually goes out. They talk about how fire is raising the temperature in a room. Like, all of this stuff is resource management focused. All the way from the fire and all that stuff to temperature controls like they've got here, to the ability to change the gravity in a ship. That's all linked to resource management. We can see that that's also been worked on for a long time, since beginning of 2021. Coming into some pretty final parts next year. So again, another thing that we might see. Huge part of the game. That's going to be adding engineering and firefighting and all that kind of stuff to ship gameplay. Vehicle munching from salvage, which is the next version. So we're finishing salvage right here first with this 12-team sprint of 82 weeks of work. We're getting ship hull scraping right now in the game with 318. We've seen it a little bit in testing. It'll be in our hands in the next month or two. The next step is vehicle munching, which is literally taking the scraps and parts of a vehicle and sucking them up into a little muncher. You can barely see it here. Oops. But the Vulture has a vehicle muncher on it. You can see it's taking these scraps in here and it will munch them down in this and then package them up in the ship. The Reclaimer also has one. In fact, it has a giant claw that helps it to grab other ships and then munch on them with its huge... Oh, gosh, excuse me. Munch on them with its huge whatever. So that's the next form of salvage, and we could see that's also getting work done this year. I'm not sure if we'll get it this year, but it's possible. They've been working on satellites as points of interest. These are explorable satellites that will be in space. So this is not something they've been talking about too much, but they worked on it in 2022 just as new points of interest. Security network. This should be factoring into bounty hunting. Ship CPU. This is related to AI blades that everybody's been waiting for. It had 99 weeks of work. Some of it just finished up now, but I'm sure they'll have plenty more to do as we haven't heard about it. I don't know if this is something we'll see this year, but maybe they'll mention it at least. And the list, it just keeps going. Honestly, there's just so many features. Underground facilities is a huge one that we just learned about that might be able to be seen next year. That would bring forth another bump of new areas for gameplay. Who knows what kind of missions they'll put in there, but it's a new place for missions at least. There is a ton. There's a ton, guys, and I have no idea how it's gonna all play out. We won't know really until early February what it's gonna look like next year, because all of this work was scheduled a while ago. So they're gonna have to update this whole progress tracker and give us a new look at what to expect. But, you know, as always, I'll be right there with you whenever they do make that update. We will be right here on the stream going over what we can expect throughout the next year. You can always drop into this stream, especially on Mondays, and expect to hear a little bit about what's been going on in the last month, what they've got coming up, next updates, new features, new ships, all that kind of stuff. I like to usually do these sorts of chatting streams on Mondays with the crew. We do a monthly report or something, but I felt like talking a little bit today. I know I said I was going to play, but we got really deep into discussion. I think there was a lot of good stuff, good information that came out here. Any final questions, though? Anything that you guys saw that you wanted to ask a question about? Anything you didn't see that you were curious about? Or anything like that? Because I am going to go ahead and close things up at this point. I'm just about done. You're an old dungeon master. Using ships as RP platforms really intrigues you. It's what draws you. The more detail and props we get, the better. Some people are scared that Star Citizen is going to turn into an RP game only. I think it just makes the RP super easy. Everything, because they're not just building this stuff to not be useful. Like, you can RP running a ship with your crew, right, Piku? Like, you could do all those things, and those things would actually matter. So I don't think it's just RP stuff. What part of this stuff does Montreal work on? Of what we talked about, Montreal works on the outposts. It's actually very easy to come in here and just go to the Montreal sandbox team and see what they're doing. So this whole list on the left side is the stuff that they have currently on the radar. We got derelict ships, building interiors, and Lorville. It looks like they're actually not doing the outposts. That might be the EU sandbox team. You were interested in location art? What specifically? Like a specific location or what? What happens to NPC transport removed from the roadmap and swept under the rug? What happened? Where is it at? We went over that. It's not off the progress tracker. It is right here. Rescue and transport missions taking advantage of AI follow behaviors to create missions where players transport customers from one location to another, along with prototype missions where players must rescue imperiled clients from dangerous situations and escort them to safety. Oh boy, those cave rescue missions are going to get so much more intense. This is work that had its scheduled work finish up in Q3 of this year, so we don't really know what's going on with it right now. I'm sure they've got it just kind of sitting around waiting for the AI to run better, and we will probably hear more about it in February when they finish their refactoring for next year's work, but I think it's something that we'll see next year. PTU 318 this year? I think so, yeah. Where did my name come from? You know, I don't know. I just picked a tomato one time for one of my names online. And then when I started making content, I was like, I gotta make this space themed. So I put space before the tomato. And so it was. I don't know, is that good? Is that a good enough origin story? I was originally, it was like an epic name that involved tomato. I'm not going to tell you guys because that's going to dox my Reddit profile, but I was very proud of that name, and I was already posting content with that name, so I was like, let me just add space. Everybody knows what a tomato is. Nobody's going to be left behind. We all love tomatoes. They're red, they're bright, they're fun, they're cool. You know, they're your best friends. And I think it worked out. Now I am incredibly beholden to tomatoes. I gotta tell you, as a food to eat, I'm not that keen on them. But man, I feel like I have such a connection to tomatoes now. Like I am one with the tomates. Banu Merchantman win? Sorry, you're gonna have to ask a crystal ball for that one. Tomatoes are nasty as food. When they're alone, yeah, I think they can make for some great dishes, but on their own, not a big fan of them, no. Boreal Stalker when? I don't know. Player creatures, I have no idea. They finally moved from art to, I think, animation in terms of creatures, so they're making progress on them, but no clue when they might come up. Do you think there will be any visual improvements with the Gen 12 in 3.18? No, I do not. Do I have a tomato tattoo? If not, when? I don't. Drazen's supposed to have a tomato tattoo. For everybody who was here when this stream first started, you might remember when I got that baklava tattoo. I believe we set a goal for it in the stream. And we passed that goal, so I got the tattoo. But not a tomato. Yes, I am also allergic to tomatoes. Cotton. That's good memory. Only raw, though. I'm allergic to most fruits or vegetables when they are raw. All right, folks. Oh, yeah, no, I don't get all that. I don't get the anaphylactic shock or anything. I just get I get a minor but persistent effect in my mouth. That's terrible, but it's not crazy. I'm not at any risk. Have I heard of Dual Universe, and do I think that in the future a player expandable universe could come to Star Citizen? I think Star Citizen is a little too handcrafted to open itself up like Dual Universe and let people start building all of this stuff. Maybe if they do the mod tools, but not really sure. But yeah, I've heard of Dual Universe. Wish things had gone a little bit better for that game, to be honest. There's hope for it, but we'll see. Oh, I wish it was just fuzzy mouth target drone. I'm not going to talk about the effect on the stream here because it's pretty gross, and honestly, it's miserable, and y'all don't need to hear all of that. But it is a problem of a reaction, and something that I have to try and avoid fruit for, but I'm very bad at that. It also sometimes pops up with certain mouthwashes, certain toothpastes, and some other things. Just anything that might include a plant. Thanks for all you do. No problem, Piku. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody, for being here, guys. It's been fantastic, as always, having a chat with you. Went over a lot of good information today. This ended up turning into a great preview of 2023. But if you want more, I did just release a video about 8 features that I think are coming to vehicles that are going to be pretty good. And you know what, guys? You know what? Let me do you a solid here. I'm feeling festive, and it's a Friday. So if you want to, I won't say you have to. I'm not going to force you, but I have a new video coming out tomorrow talking about game wipes, how they work, why they happen, how you can prepare for them. It's not released. It won't be coming out until tomorrow, but I figured if you guys would like to check it out, I'll drop the link in chat. Please don't start sharing it around the community, but I'll let you guys take a look at it. I don't know. Feeling nice about it. So check that out if you want to. That video is coming out tomorrow again. Like I said, it's going to be about these wipes, progress wipes that go into Star Citizen, why they happen, how they affect us, how you can prepare for them. Besides that, though, folks, it's been awesome. I love you all. I hope to see you in the Discord server. Please come chat with us, hang out, play some Star Citizen or other games. We'll be playing some Deep Rock Galactic and Star Citizen, occasionally maybe some like DayZ or something. And I'll see you guys all on the stream tomorrow. Probably doing some org gameplay tomorrow, if anything. So I hope to see you there. I'm going to drop you all with Bognagus and wish you the best. Again, I'm going to... Hold on. Because I realize that YouTube doesn't make this easy. I'm going to drop the link to the... Oops, sorry. Drop the link to the Discord for you in the YouTube if anybody would like to join us. I promise we have a very kind group of people. And I'm always looking for more kind people. The more kind people we have, the easier it is to only be kind people. So, hope to see you there. Come drop by and say hi. If not, then say hi to Bognagus. Have a good day, folks. Peace out from the Hype Beast. Thank you for being involved in giveaways and chat and all the things. You guys are awesome. I'll see you all tomorrow. Same time, same place. Have a good Friday. Peace.